Chapter 342. It belongs to me. The old demon roared, unable to restrain the excitement and shock in his heart. He had seen through the origins of this object. A terrifying aura spread out. The Big Dipper Palace was pitch black like ink, its energy blotting out the sun. Just like that, a black temple was born, gushing with surging black flames. It was extremely terrifying. The miser's expression changed. This old monster was too patient. He had been putting on an act all this time, waiting for them to open the Big Dipper Palace in order to counterattack. At that time, they wouldn't even know how they died. However, Suyan's forehead was shrouded in wisps of white fog. This caused the old demon to descend into madness. He did not care about the price he had to pay. He wanted to snatch away the wisps of white fog. Boom! A black shadow appeared within the Big Dipper Palace. It was extremely terrifying and majestic, filling up the heaven and earth. Its soul actually passed through the palace door, as though it was in hell itself. The aura it emitted was terrifying to the extreme, and there was a terrifying light of order burning around it. The old demon seemed to have lost his mind. He wanted to get close to Su Yin and grab the white fog. One could imagine how precious this item was. It actually caused the old demon to be unable to control the greed in his heart. However, just as it erupted, the golden talisman on the Big Dipper Palace's signboard suddenly erupted with divine light, piercing through the darkness. An ancient Buddha appeared above the talisman. Its appearance was solemn, and its dharma was peerless. Moreover, it stood up, causing the world to tremble. It chanted Buddhist mantras, emitting endless Buddhist light. Each strand seemed capable of suppressing the universe. The ancient Buddha walked down from the talisman. It was as if he was treading on the river of time and space, walking from the future. He stretched out a hand and shook towards the escaping black shadow. This hand seemed very calm, but it was as if it had stretched out from the end of the universe. It was boundless, and it was as if vast galaxies were trembling under his Buddha's hand. The sun, moon, and stars were as insignificant as sand. This bald donkey is too frightening. The miser was scared. The universe was like sand, suppressed in his hand. This was a supreme ability. No! The black shadow let out a roar, shattering the sky. Its aura was truly terrifying. However, the Buddha's hand that descended from the sky contained an immeasurable aura. It was like the five-finger mountain that descended from the sky and pressed down on the black figure. The black shadow let out a mournful cry. He was unable to withstand the power of the talisman and was riddled with holes. Finally, he collapsed. But what shocked Miser Rooster the most was that his shattered soul had once again merged back together. What kind of secret technique was this? He was actually able to reconstruct his soul from a fragmented state. However, it was a pity that it couldn't escape in the end. The golden Buddha's hand struck its soul again and again. Bastard! The old demon was going crazy as he constantly healed his soul. Every time his body was crushed, he would become a little more clear-headed. He wanted to go back now. Initially, he had lost his mind because of this substance, but now he wanted to return to the Big Dipper Palace. But he couldn't escape. The golden Buddha palm struck out again and again. Every palm was exceptionally terrifying, crippling him several dozen times. In the end, he became weaker and weaker and was crushed into ashes by the golden Buddha palm. I refused to accept this. He let out a cry of grief and indignation. His soul had collapsed, but he was still unwilling to accept this. This scene made Miser Rooster look like he had seen a ghost. What substance was this? Even an old demon couldn't endure it and completely lost control. Without a doubt, his death was directly related to the wisps of white mist. However, this white mist drilled into Su Yan's forehead as if it had fused with him. However, Su Yan couldn't feel any changes in his body. If he really had to explain it, he could only say that because he had comprehended the core chapter of the Sutra of Future, refining the soul into the void, he had touched upon the profound mysteries of space and time. This had drawn out the white substance hidden in his body. Wong, his primordial spirit, was too blazing and filled with a divine aura. He could easily sense the changes of the world. Su Yin even discovered the existence of the Great Tao. They were like killing swords that could pierce through everything, causing his star spirit to crack. The Great Tao of heaven and earth was terrifying enough. It was especially difficult to grasp the Great Tao. Moreover, the higher one's cultivation level, the more they feared the Great Tao. Su Yin had comprehended the power of the Great Tao, but it wasn't something he could comprehend or activate now. Su Yin restrained his mind and sealed his perception, isolating the aura of the Great Tao. His body shone and overflowed with multicolored light. He was like an immortal, free from the mortal world. Just as Su Yan's primordial spirit stepped into the emptiness realm, his entire body glowed. It was extremely resplendent and somewhat blurry. This was because after stepping into this realm, one's control of the void was no small matter. The changes of the void? It was filled with endless, profound mysteries. The world was like a space-time, and the universe was also like a space-time. They were all related to the void. These naturally had a crucial connection with cultivation. It was rumored that some terrifying giants had comprehended the void to the extreme and could sense the changes of space-time. They could slow down the flow of time, but it was too difficult. It was beyond the reach of ordinary people. Su Yan's figure flickered in and out of the void. Originally, he had already grasped the shrinking of space. Now, Su Yan's mastery of this secret had climbed to a whole new level. He felt as if he had crossed 1,000 miles of the void. It was because of this step that Su Yan's cultivation level skyrocketed. His entire treasured body glowed. As he breathed, he swallowed the divine power of heaven and earth. Without a doubt, the speed at which Su Yin absorbed the essence of heaven and earth was several times faster than before. This was the benefit of comprehending the void. As he breathed, Su Yin was like a divine furnace that could reach the heavens, seizing the fortune of heaven and earth. As he cultivated, the void in all directions turned pitch black. This was because Su Yan's absorption speed was too fast. As he breathed, the surroundings rumbled and divine power surged towards him like a tide. Su Yin entered the state of cultivation. Day after day passed. The transcendence divine power in his body skyrocketed and soared to the peak of the transcendence 5th level. Of course, that was not all. Although the increase in cultivation level was not much, the divine power in Su Yan's body was vigorous and full. The power of the transcendence divine power that was evolved surged violently. His combat power was even more shocking. This was the benefit of stepping into the emptiness realm with the primordial spirit. The harvest was huge. Su Yan's treasure body was filled with unparalleled divine power. Swish, swish. Su Yan's figure flashed in the void. Sometimes, when he was operating to the extreme, Su Yin felt a terrifying power that was indescribable and boundless. This is the profound meaning of space. What opportunity did this brat get from the talisman? Why can't I see anything? The miser was shocked and resentful. He realized that sometimes Su Yan's speed was shockingly fast. It felt as if he was crossing through space. Su Yan seemed to be crossing through space. However, every time he crossed, he felt as if he had barged into a cosmic whirlpool. It was very dangerous. He even felt as if his lifespan was being stripped away. This made him very surprised. The power of space was too grand. If he was not careful, he would be crushed to death by space. Generally speaking, only those who had stepped into the Great Tao realm had the qualifications to comprehend space. This was because the Great Tao realm was strong enough and would not be crushed to death by the power of space. However, it was already very impressive that Su Yin could reach this step. In the process of facing an enemy, he could turn the tables. Su Yin even realized that the movement of matter in the world was a little slow. If the enemy's movement was slow in the process of facing an enemy, it would be a fatal blow. The profound meaning of space and the Sutra of Future are too shocking. His eyes faintly emitted a spatial luster, as if they were turning into a pair of spatial eyes. This made him pleasantly surprised. The cultivation of the Sutra of Future had allowed him to touch a trace of the profound meaning of space. However, Su Yin did not awaken it. His emotions were complicated. As his primordial spirit had stepped into the void realm, Su Yan's soul power had been magnified many times. As a result, he saw the truth that he had always wanted to know. I'll find a safe place and take a good look at what is in my memories. Su Yan took a deep breath and opened his eyes. Miserly Rooster quickly asked, "Do you want to know what Su Yan had experienced and why some white mist would seep out and make the old demon go crazy?" "The old demon has been enlightened." Su Yan was surprised. He could not explain it clearly and was about to open the Big Dipper Palace to take a look. "Be careful. This old demon might still be alive." Miserly Rooster was abnormally vigilant. He should be in the primordial spirit state. This old demon is too perverted. I don't know how many years he has been trapped here. Su Yan opened the ancient palace with his Big Dipper fist. The palace door rumbled and opened. Su Yan was naturally on full alert. He activated the power of the talisman and used the power of the scripture of future to envelop the entire ancient palace. He was wary of whether the old demon was still alive. Sanskrit chants filled the heavens and earth. As the palace door opened, an ancient aura spread out. It was difficult to determine how long the Big Dipper Palace had existed. The moment Su Yan stepped into the Big Dipper Palace, his emotions surged. This was because they had arrived in a starry sky. This scene was very familiar. Wasn't it the same as the scene in the Big Dipper Pagoda? However, this starry sky was slightly different from the Big Dipper Pagoda. It was like an independent starry sky that was created by an expert. In this starry sky, there were 7 resplendent stars in the universe that hung in the starry sky. The 7 stars represented the 7 stars of the Big Dipper. As Su Yan observed, the starry sky changed. The 7 stars shone brightly and their auras intertwined. It was as if they had opened up a magnificent starry sky that revealed a terrifying heavenly might. Without a doubt, this was the cultivation technique of the Big Dipper fist. It was imprinted in this starry sky, and in its most perfect form, it reflected the evolution of the Big Dipper fist. This is the Big Dipper Palace. Iron Rooster was speechless. This is a space-time created by a terrifying giant. It's definitely a shocking technique that only a supreme expert could master. Could the Immortal Mountain be in this space-time? Immortal Mountain. Su Yan looked around, but didn't see the Immortal Mountain. Could it be that if he wanted to enter the Immortal Mountain, he had to use some special methods? Then Su Yan's eyes flashed. He saw a huge star hanging under the Big Dipper. It was floating and filled with the aura of the Great Tao. It was like a floating platform. Su Yan walked over and sat on the platform. He realized that it was easy to comprehend the Big Dipper fist here. The platform was huge and people were like ants. Su Yan sat on the platform and closed his eyes. He hadn't comprehended the evolution of the Big Dipper fist. Let's take a look. Su Yan's emotions stirred. It was as if he was in a deep sleep. It was very safe here. He could dig out all his memories without worry. His mind gradually sank into the past, searching for the things he had lost in his long memories. He realized that his memories were very long, very long. Su Yan searched with all his might. He was like a fish swimming to the beginning of the sea. He wanted to start from the beginning, bit by bit, to find the memories he had lost. Finally, Su Yan arrived. He seemed to have entered a dazzling and colorful starry sky. It was very beautiful. The stars were like sand, sparkling and translucent, surrounded by colorful rays of light. The beautiful starry sky was like a land of immortals. The fog was clear and auspicious. It was tranquil and auspicious. Chapter 343. The quiet world was devoid of noise and traces of life. No one knew how much time had passed. A wisp of weak mental consciousness was muddle-headed. It was sometimes awake and sometimes asleep in this pure land that was cut off from the rest of the world. As time went by, this weak spiritual will gradually grew stronger, like a newborn baby. However, the little guy could not see or touch anything. He was like a curious baby all day long, filled with curiosity about everything in the world. Finally, one day, the little guy saw a slender figure. Her charm was exceptional, her might oppressing the starry seas of the universe. She was very powerful, but she gave him an extremely amiable feeling. However, he wasn't clear. These were all too blurry, as if everything wasn't real. He was like a little muddle-headed bug. He wanted to communicate with her, but he could not speak. Just like that, as time passed, the little guy could faintly hear some movements coming from outside. It was a terrifying sound, like the roar of a god or devil. It was terrifying and bloody. There was an expedition outside. The war was monstrous, and the flames of war had burned down the sky. However, he could not see. The world he was in was shaking as if it was about to be destroyed. This made the little guy somewhat terrified. He was like a frightened child, feeling that the world was about to be destroyed. However, the world soon returned to normal. He was in a daze, sometimes asleep, sometimes awake. In this small world that was isolated from the rest of the world, a few more people came. They were all very vague and mysterious, and these terrifying existences gave the little guy a very familiar feeling. He really wanted to communicate with these people, but he didn't know how to do so. He did not know how much time had passed. The little guy slept for even longer. He was awakened sometimes because he heard the earth-shattering cries of war. There was a bloody battle outside, a great war that shocked the world. He heard some roars, cries, and shouts. The little guy's world was shaking. He heard some people talking. He did not know what they were talking about, but he felt that these people were protecting the little world he was in, not letting the people outside disturb this pure land. A wisp of emotion rose in his heart. It was an emotion he had never felt before. He was angry. He wanted to go out, to join the people outside, to join the war, to protect his home, to protect his pure land. He did not know how much time had passed. The little guy gradually became stronger. His spiritual will was astonishing, and the time he could stay awake was longer. He often heard shouts of killing, as if some people were chasing after them, wanting to destroy them. The resentment in the little guy's heart grew stronger and stronger. He unleashed his strongest power, wanting to rush out again and again. He wanted to rush out of the pure land he was in. He wanted to join the battle with the people who were protecting the pure land he was in. Finally, one day, he rushed out, as if he had rushed into a brand new world. But this world was terrifying and couldn't tolerate him. The little guy couldn't see anything either. The world was as dark as ink, and he couldn't even see his own fingers. It was as if he had barged into a land of death. Endless destructive power was born between heaven and earth, wanting to crush him into pieces. Wow! The little guy was screaming like a baby, but he was not afraid. He was very brave and resisted. He wanted to live on and meet his family. However, he was too weak and exhausted from the struggle. In the end, he fainted and fell into a deep slumber. When the little guy woke up again, he heard a lot of laughter. It was a group of children, lively and cute, as if they were laughing at him. Little muddle heads, eyes are open. The children were roaring with laughter. It was a cute and fair little baby, like a porcelain doll who opened his eyes. His eyes were black and bright, pure and flawless. He looked around. His eyes were full of longing. He was like a curious baby. The little guy didn't understand the children who were laughing around him. He revealed a shy smile. His face was rosy, but his smile was very pure, causing the passers-by to laugh. An old man picked him up and pinched his bones and small body. He let out a long laugh. The heavens have mercy. Little Muddlehead survived. He endured for half a year before opening his eyes. He was born with a fiery life. I think we should call him Su Yin. Yeah, the little guy shouted and waved his little hands. His eyes were black and bright, and his hair was light and nimble. He seemed to be very happy, as if he understood, but he was also a little shy. This was a big tribe, and it was bustling with noise and excitement. Many people came to look at Little Muddlehead. Some children even asked why he was called Little Muddlehead. An old man smiled and replied, "This little guy was dazed for half a year and only opened his eyes today. You guys shouldn't underestimate him." Some elders of the tribe gathered and sighed endlessly. They recalled the scene when little Su Yin was born. It was as if he was ascending to immortality. The sky was filled with auspicious signs, hazy white mist, and accompanied by beautiful rain of light. It was as if an ancient sage had come into being. Although it was extraordinary, it encountered a great calamity. There were elders with great prestige in the tribe who sternly warned them not to spread this news. Now, they recalled the vast lightning that seemed to have penetrated the heavens and descended from the end of the universe. It was still vivid in their minds. They originally thought that little Muddlehead wouldn't survive, but he endured it in the end and only opened his eyes after half a year. My name is Su Yin. Time went by slowly. 1 or 2 months had passed. Little Muddlehead had learned to speak. Although his words weren't very clear, he had already spoken roughly. Little Muddlehead, come and play. The tribe was bustling with noise. There were stone houses and stone paths everywhere. However, there were many children in the tribe. They were playing all over the tribe. The children were all very strong and were like a group of calves. They ran with vigor and vigor. Some of the older children were calling out to Su Yin. These children all knew that little Muddlehead was the same as them. These children almost didn't have parents. They were all looked after by the elders of the village and would usually go out for a stroll. They would always bring him along. Wait for me. Little Muddlehead was only 7 months old. He walked unsteadily, but he wasn't slow at all. He wore a small bee skin coat and ran out of the house. This made the elders who looked after him feel very helpless. The tribe occupied an area of tens of li outside the tribe were wild mountains with birds and beasts everywhere. It couldn't be considered dangerous. Inside the tribe, a group of elders with great prestige gathered. They sat cross-legged in the void and were covered by the aura of primal chaos. They were all very extraordinary. After leaving the village, their bodies couldn't help but spread out. That terrifying aura made the sky tremble. It was like an immortal furnace was burning. They were so powerful that they covered the sky. They wore bee-skin coats and were all tall and mighty. They looked at the group of children running and playing around the tribe and laughed in relief. Little Yin is very extraordinary. He's only 7 months old and can already run. When he grows up in the future, he will be the pillar of our bloodline. A tall man with an aura like a giant dragon spoke. He was called Su Dalong, and he gave Su Yin his name. That's right. We have to teach him well and pass on our skills to him. An old man with an aura like a divine phoenix laughed boldly. There will be a day when his might shakes the universe. He is a gift bestowed to us by our ancestors. An old man wearing a flood dragon robe with a sea of battle aura shouted coldly. In the future, he will definitely lead our bloodline to rise. When we regain our strength, we will kill our way to the 9 heavens. We already don't have much of a way out. A figure covered in lightning said with a worried tone. I don't know when the old leader will wake up. I feel a little uneasy. The people behind should be here soon. I want to inform the old leader to send the children out. These old men had world-shocking killing intent. A terrifying scene of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood appeared. They were all extremely powerful and cared a lot about every child in the tribe. However, they had high hopes for Little Miss Muddle. There wasn't just one old leader. They respected him from the bottom of their hearts. They led the bloodline of the burial region and killed their way out of the encirclement time and time again. They were the leaders of the bloodline of the burial region. One after another, they were terrifying giants whose might shook the universe. Time passed very quickly. Little Su Yin grew up day by day. He was already 1 year old. Although his body was a little thin, his whole body was filled with an ethereal aura. His light hair fluttered in the wind. His bright black eyes looked at the beautiful night sky. However, the little guy was often disappointed. He didn't know who his parents were. When he asked some old people, they couldn't tell him. They just said that Little Miss Muddle was a child bestowed to them by the heavens. Sigh. Little Miss Muddle sighed. Little Miss Muddle sighed. Her voice was very tender, like a sentimental little adult. Ha ha, Little Miss Muddle, why are you sighing like a little adult? An old man walked over and started laughing. Little Miss Muddle smiled bashfully. He was only 1 year old, but he already looked like a 2 or 3-year-old child. He asked eagerly, Grandpa Huahai, I want to see the outside world. Isn't that simple? Grandpa will bring you out for a spin. I'll bring you flying, okay? Su Huahai laughed loudly. His temper was always straightforward. His words made Little Miss Muddle pleasantly surprised. He did a somersault and jumped up while laughing. That's great. Wong. Su Huahai waved his big sleeve. Heavenly wind blew and swept Su Yin into the sky. When they were in the sky, little Su Yin was shocked. He hugged Su Huahai's thick and solid arm. His little face was pale, and he didn't dare to look around. Little Yin, don't be afraid. Su Huahai's laughter shook the sky. As a man, you must gather your courage. You still have to travel the world in the future. Sooner or later, you will soar. This little risk is nothing. Little Su Yin clenched his fists and encouraged himself inwardly. His tightly closed eyes slowly opened. He saw the clouds in the sky rippling with seven-colored divine light. Little Miss Muddle was dumbfounded. After a long while, he came back to his senses. He looked at the sky again and saw that the sun, moon, and stars were very close to him. So beautiful. Little Miss Muddle slowly looked forward to the stars in the sky. He reached out his little hand and grabbed randomly. "Ha! Grandpa will pluck a moon for you." With a wave of Su Huahai's hand, his entire palm rapidly enlarged. Like a giant hand that covered the entire sky, it extended towards the starry sky. The energy waves emitted from his palm caused the stars in the sky to appear small. Even the hazy moon that was emitting moonlight was swaying slightly. Just when Su Huahai's palm was about to touch the moon, his expression suddenly changed, and his aura became completely different. It was as if he was a divine lord who created the world. He let out a majestic roar that resonated throughout the vast starry sky. The roaring sound waves collided with the starry sky and shot out endless divine light. However, they all splashed down. They were blocked by a frightening power. Because of Su Huahai's powerful attack, a hidden golden path appeared. It was unknown how many tens of thousands of miles long it was. It was filled with the aura of a divine lord. It revolved around the star they were on. Immortal binding rope. Su Huahai's expression changed greatly. He immediately turned around and wanted to go back. Chapter 344. Immortal binding rope, they are here. A soldier who was patrolling outside the tribe instantly took out a war drum and used all of his blood essence to beat the war drum. The sound shook the heavens and spread throughout the entire ancient star. Endless fighting spirit burst forth. Divine light rose in the entire tribe. One after another, the sleeping soldiers were unsealed. They were very decisive and overbearing. When they heard the war drum, they woke up. For a moment, the entire tribe was filled with dazzling light. Billions of divine light soared into the sky. Not good. Xiao Yinzi is also above. A hero in the tribe shouted crazily. When he saw the starry sky, many big hands stretched out. They used divine abilities and secret techniques to grab Su Huahai. "Grandpa Huahai, it hurts," little Su Yin shouted loudly. Those palms that descended from the sky seemed to be the hands of gods. Wherever they passed, everything was destroyed, exploded, and shattered. Even the sky was trembling. Everything happened too suddenly. One after another, huge palms that were powerful enough to shatter the sky stretched out and captured Su Yin. Even little Su Yin was enveloped by them. "Child, leave quickly." Su Huahai's eyes shone with killing intent. He opened his mouth and spat out his life treasure. It was an ancient bell. He placed little Miss Muddle inside the bell and blew a mouthful of clear air. The ancient bell was blown away and fell towards the big tribe. During this process, two big hands left Su Huahai and tried to capture Su Yin. They felt that this child was not ordinary. They couldn't see through him. Get lost. This scene stimulated Su Huahai's dormant, ferocious energy. He let out an invincible roar and burned his life source. His entire body was like a sea of flames that could burn the heavens. He released the power of the great Tao, causing the boundless void to tremble. Buzz. The energy released by his body formed a huge light screen and blocked the terrifying big hands. However, when Su Huahai blocked them, another palm struck toward him. It was holding a divine spear. It split the flames in the sky and pierced through his head. It lifted him up. Kill. Su Huahai seemed to be unable to feel pain. His roar shook the heavens. His ferocious energy swept through the sky. His entire body was torn apart, and a destructive energy flowed out. He had self-detonated. It was a very decisive and cruel act. The old man knew the consequences of falling into the enemy's hands. His self-destruction was like a ball of heavenly fire of the great path that could burn the 9 heavens. It burned down the divine spear, and even the cultivator who attacked was shattered. In the end, he exploded in the sky. Grandpa's sea of fire. Cries of loss of control could be heard from the large tribes. A group of children's eyes were red. They could not believe what they were seeing. Some of the children cried and ran forward. Grandpa Flame Sea, Grandpa Flame Sea, Grandpa Flame Sea. Inside the ancient bell, little Su Yan's eyes were filled with tears. He shouted anxiously, Grandpa Flame Sea, what happened to you? Why are you gone? He was still young, a 1-year-old child. He didn't know much, but he felt heartache. This was the pain of losing a loved one. Catch this child. The immortal binding rope had already manifested. This supreme treasure had shaken the universe from generation to generation. Moreover, terrifying figures towered above the immortal binding rope one after another, as if deities had descended into this world. They erupted with ice-cold, killing intent, operating great offensive techniques to target Little Miss Muddle. Even though it was an invisible killing intent, the ancient bell protecting Little Miss Muddle trembled as if it was about to collapse. Stop! At this moment, endless killing intent poured out, piercing through the universe as if it had drowned the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Mountains of corpses and seas of blood erupted. In the large tribes, figures with monstrous auras soared up one after another. It was as if a group of war deities had awakened from their slumber, roaring and shaking the sea of stars. For a moment, the life-ancient star they were in was shattered. It was riddled with holes, as if it was about to shatter. Violent collisions and dazzling light shone. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. All kinds of destructive ripples scattered from the light were enough to overturn the starry sky and annihilate countless great stars in the universe. However, the immortal binding rope was too terrifying. It suppressed all kinds of energy ripples, attacking the tribe they were in. Buzz. The tribe glowed. The primal chaos, great killing formation, was blazing and awakening. It turned into a giant energy light curtain, blocking all kinds of killing techniques that were falling from the sky. Kiki, it's time to end the bloodline of the burial region. Although something unexpected happened and you guys learned about it in advance, it doesn't matter. I want to see where you can run to this time. In the starry sky outside the region, one after another, experts who were as strong as ancient gods looked down on the world, emitting cold, killing intent. Their voices were cruel as they said, "Kill them all. Leave no one alive." This was the battlefield of gods and demons. It was unimaginable. There were many enemies in the outer region, and each one was stronger than the last. There wasn't a single one of them who was weak. They all held supreme treasures, releasing energy fluctuations that made the entire life-ancient star tremble. Brats, eat your grandpa's staff. A giant dragon-like roar exploded. The experts of the older generation and the large tribes soared into the sky, releasing the most terrifying divine light. Peerless battle aura. They were like a group of soldiers who were about to conquer the heavens. They carried big iron staffs and attacked. The great battle erupted. Everything happened too suddenly. This was the battlefield of gods and demons, and it was unfolding in this small star area. If it weren't for the immortal binding rope's protection, the commotion would have been endless. The killing light would have drowned out one star area after another, shattering this part of the universe. Rumble. The sky was filled with divine light. They collided with each other, launching an earth-shaking collision. Blood rained down from the sky. This was the cruelest battle, a battle of life and death. As soon as they exchanged blows, they released their most ferocious power. In just one exchange, there were experts who died, exploding in a blood mist one after another. Kill! The group of elders went crazy. The aura of great divine abilities spread out from their bodies. All of them had secret techniques of the heavens, releasing the most invincible and terrifying energy fluctuations, sweeping away the enemies from the outer region. They wanted to open a bloody path. A bunch of old things. What is left of your bloodline in the burial region? The younger generation has all died in battle. Now, only a bunch of old bones are left. Your bloodline doesn't need to exist anymore. In this battle, I want to kill all of you. I want to kill all the children of your bloodline. You won't have a glimmer of hope in the future. The cruel voice was like the opening of purgatory. It was like a group of evil demons speaking here, reverberating in the entire life ancient star. The creatures here were already in a terrible situation. Apart from the great tribes here, all the creatures on this life ancient star had turned into blood mists. This life ancient star was submerged in endless bloodlight. It was like the end of the world. Roar! The group of elders roared in grief, their eyes about to split open. They were like a group of mad beasts. Their sons and daughters had died in battle like this. In order to cripple their bloodline, the ancestral palace and the other forces had their young children pierced by battle spears, their bloodline extracted. They left their homes, fighting bloody battles along the way. They slaughtered their way out of the blockade line again and again, breaking through the encirclement again and again. Every time they passed by a place, they would bury the younger generation who had died in battle with tears in their eyes. However, many of their corpses couldn't be found. They were the younger generation who had survived mountains of corpses and seas of blood. They gradually grew old, turning into great trees in the sky. They wanted to protect the younger generation and kill their way out of the darkness. However, the enemies came too fast, not giving them any time to react. Especially this time, they didn't even have the slightest bit of detection before the enemies had already slaughtered their way over. Kill! The elder dressed in flood dragon robes roared. The moment all the pores on his body opened, tens of thousands of true dragons erupted, soaring into the 9 heavens. This was an unrivaled battle aura, brave and unstoppable. Even the boundless sea of stars could collapse along with it. Pung pung, blood scattered down from the heavens. There were experts who were pierced through, blasted into pieces by the sky, supporting true dragon killing intent. However, this also drew an even more terrifying slaughter. It was because the ancestral palace's forces had made ample preparations. When a vicious demon appeared, that sea of demonic flames destroyed everything. This was a terrifying monster. Its entire body was golden. Even though it was in human form, the vicious demonic aura within its body could be said to be the gateway to hell. He released a sinister roar, his eyes erupting with green radiance. He was like an unbreakable Vajra monster. He tore off an elder's arm on the spot, opened his mouth, and directly swallowed it into his stomach. Dark underworld bloodline. The one-armed elder roared mournfully. This time, not only the ancestral palace, but also the dark underworld bloodline experts had slaughtered their way over. They were a peak force in the universe, occupying the most powerful life ancient star. The battle was too bitter. The light from the collision caused the place to be completely dark. Large black holes were everywhere. Inside the tribe hidden by the killing formation, there were cries and screams everywhere. They were still a group of children without much battle strength. They watched as their normally kind grandfathers went berserk while bathed in blood, fighting with their lives on the line against the enemy. This scene made many children uneasy. They didn't understand what was going on, but they knew that the grandfathers who loved them had fallen. I want to see clearly. Little Su Yan's face was full of tears. He knew each of the elders. He had lived in their stone houses before, and they had all hugged him before. But now, one grandpa after another died miserably in the hands of the enemy. Little Miss Muddle clenched his fists tightly. His eyes were wet with tears and were very blurry. He tried his best to open his eyes, but he was too weak. He couldn't see the battle clearly. There were terrifying radiances everywhere, piercing his eyes to the point of bleeding. We can't get out. The immortal binding rope shouldn't be the only supreme treasure. Some of the elders in the tribe had ugly expressions. They wanted to send this group of children away so that they wouldn't have to worry about anything and could fight freely against the enemy. But they found that the outer space had been shaken. Even if they had awakened some supreme treasures, they couldn't open a crack and escort the children out. This battle lasted until dusk. The entire world was dyed in blood. In the sky, corpses fell one after another. Some belonged to the enemy, while others belonged to the experts guarding the tribe. Roar! A loud roar exploded, breaking through layers of blockade. Even if the experts of the tribe took out supreme treasures and smashed them on the experts of the dark underworld bloodline, his golden body could be said to be indestructible. Some supreme treasures could even be shattered. Ha! Inu laughed angrily. He rushed down and pounced on the great killing formation protecting the tribe. Delicious blood food. Inu's face was hideous. He didn't look like a human, but more like an ancient corpse. His green eyes burned with flames as he stared at the tender children in the tribe. Kill. A small number of protectors from the tribe slaughtered their way out, but Inu was too powerful. Vajra, unbreakable, powerful to the extreme. He released an enormous roar, blasting apart experts one after another. Moreover, he opened his mouth, devouring them all. He was hideous and cruel. Blood flowed from between his teeth like a demon chewing its food. He rushed over and smashed open a big crack in the killing formation protecting the tribe. The aura of the demon hibernating in his body made the entire tribe tremble and collapse. "Grandpa, save me," the children screamed in fear. They couldn't move, frozen in place by Inu's pupils. "Kiki," it laughed sinisterly. Rumor has it that the bloodline of the burial region contains a trace of the most powerful bloodline in the blood of children. Your bloodline is very special. You have an ancient inheritance and were once glorious and prosperous. Unfortunately, you are now just a plate of meat in my mouth. You're bullying the weak with your strength. That's not true strength. Suddenly, a fair-skinned child stood out and mustered his courage to speak. Although his voice was young, it was sonorous and powerful. His bright black eyes flickered with hatred. Chapter 345. Little Muddlehead, hurry and run. The group of children cried out loudly, all of them extremely worried. However, they were all suppressed, unable to move. Their eyes were all red as they shouted loudly, "Little Muddlehead, hurry and run." "I'm not scared." Little Muddlehead was fair and clean, wearing Little Bee's skin clothes. Even though he was only a year old, when he recalled Grandpa Flamesea's words, his entire body was filled with courage. He was like a little adult as he stood here, glaring angrily at Inu. "Jia." Inu's laughter was cold and deep, evil blood and flesh flowing out from his mouth. His entire body was golden, as if he was cast from gold, full of unstoppable power. His body was full of vicious demonic aura. Just as power alone was enough to make children cry, but he never expected a 1-year-old child to actually dare stand out. However, his cultivation was profound, one of the underworld race's ancestors, so he wasn't shocked by Little Muddlehead. His lush green pupils released radiance, operating the eye technique, shining on Little Muddlehead's body. How long? As if he was struck by lightning, Inu's entire body went rigid, as if he was being stared at by great prehistoric vicious beasts one after another. He couldn't help but tremble, feeling a bit of fear inside. It had been many years since he had this type of feeling. This left him horrified, but it wasn't enough to scare him away. It was because he discovered that the source of this feeling came from Little Muddlehead's body. He opened his lush green pupils, once again staring at Little Muddlehead. Little Muddlehead's body mysteriously became terrifying, surging with terrifying immortal mist. An indistinct chaotic sea appeared, within it towering imposing figures one after another, as if they were matchless supreme beings who suppressed the 9 heavens and 10 earths in the past. This left him horrified, but also overjoyed. He said excitedly, "I can sense the aura of the most powerful bloodline. If I can devour it, it will definitely allow him to evolve again." They knew well that the heirs of Burial Region's bloodline were extremely powerful, almost all of them having a trace of the most powerful bloodline within them. This was the burial region that originated from the ancient era, its might shaking the heavens, dominating the 9 heavens, glorious and flourishing. However, in the end, this branch still declined because of some terrifying events. After the burial region declined, the ancestral hall and the underworld branch became their biggest enemies. 1,000,000 years had passed, but they had never stopped attacking the burial region branch. This was especially true for the underworld dark branch. They loved to capture the children of the burial zone and devour their bloodline power. Over the years, the underworld dark branch came to the conclusion that the bloodlines of these children were terrifying and contained shocking Tao fruits. Enyu's greatest goal in coming here was to capture a child with a pure bloodline and then eat them to refine a trace of their bloodline. But he never imagined that he would encounter a child that not only couldn't he see through, but also had an incomparable bloodline. This made him excited and fanatical, feeling like this was his opportunity. He suddenly opened his bloody mouth like a vicious demon, rushing over to devour little Miss Muddle. Little Muddlehead. The stunned children let out heart-wrenching cries, their eyes bloodshot. They were all older than Little Muddlehead, and their grandfathers had told them to take care of Little Muddlehead. They had deep feelings for him. This scene enraged them to the extreme. Their blood boiled with rage, and a vague and terrifying shadow appeared behind them. This made Enyu laugh. I've really struck gold. I never thought that you children would all have such peerless potential. The burial region branch is showing signs of rising, right? Too bad you'll all have to help me. Illo, Little Muddlehead shouted like a little adult, waving his little fists. He wasn't afraid, and instead wanted to beat Enyu. Kiki, Enyu attacked, his body rippling with a vicious demonic aura. It was like a purgatory that was about to devour Little Muddlehead. Boom! The world shook violently as a tall old man walked out of a sealed stone house. He strode toward Little Muddlehead, and with every step he took, the world shook, rumbled, and rose up and down. Step after step, his divine appearance became more and more upright, to the point of being unparalleled. The universe's starry sky was trembling. His footsteps were too terrifying, and the sun and moon were about to fall. With every step he took, his aura also became more terrifying. His figure gradually became grand, sweeping across millions of li, filling the entire starry sky. Grandpa Chief. The group of old men who were rushing over to help all cried out. His seniority was too high, the most ancient ancestor of the burial region bloodline. He had led the entire burial region bloodline, slaughtering his way out of countless encirclements. This was their leader. Enyu's entire body was trembling. His extremely hard, golden body was caving in. There was a formless power between heaven and earth that made Enyu's hair stand on end. This was a terrifying giant that made him feel like he had to submit. Enyu was very decisive. He gave up on the food and wanted to leave the tribe. It was as if he had charged into a space-time where endless destructive aura flowed. There were all kinds of sword embryos, killing weapons, lightning, vicious beasts, gods, devils. Everything was too terrifying. It was like a jade-like space-time of death, making Enyu tremble in fear. There was no longer that domineering aura that tore apart the experts of the burial region branch. Kacha. He was being destroyed, breaking apart into pieces. Even though his flesh was sturdy, forged from immortal gold, at this time, it still broke apart into pieces. No, Enyu struggled horribly, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't escape this space-time. He was torn apart by countless giant beasts. His bones were shattered by the killing swords, and his blood essence was obliterated by the killing weapons. This was the destruction of body and spirit. In the end, millions and millions of streaks of lightning hacked down, refining him into ashes, scattering from this world. This elder with a calm aura was just too terrifying. He stood in the great tribe, and then he suddenly released a great roar. The stars in the sky exploded, and this expanse of the cosmos was blasted apart by this roar. Pupiyu. A rain of blood descended from the heavens. A group of terrifying gods and devils all exploded, blasted apart by his roar. He was like an unmatched, terrifying leader of the cosmos. Once he appeared, a great disaster would descend. This blood dyed the entire heavens red. The leader is unmatched. Victory is inevitable. Kill. The elders with powerful auras roared one after another like a group of children. This was their ancient ancestor, the one who protected them when they were young. When the ancient ancestor fought with his life on the line against the enemy, in their era, there were also a group of children. This was the war god in their hearts, the unmatched war god. The entire world was covered in blood. The burial clan leader was terrifying beyond compare. He stood in the tribe, continuously releasing long roars, blasting apart powerful gods and devils one after another, stirring up endless murderous intent. It engulfed the great cosmos, about to shatter stellar domains one after another. He dominated a part of the cosmos, looking down on the world. It's him. He is actually still alive. After endless time passed, he still couldn't be refined to death. There were ancestral palace old ancestors who survived who were alarmed, their entire bodies trembling. This was a matchless figure whose vicious reputation overflowed into the heavens, the leader of the burial region bloodline, a well-known, terrifying leader in the cosmos. He had previously nurtured endless killing intent, blasting apart a stellar domain. However, after so much time passed, several tens of thousands of years, how could he still be alive? Could it be that his lifespan had reached its end? Everyone knew that no matter how powerful one was, it would still be difficult for them to endure the power of time, slowly dying of old age. The more powerful one was, the more difficult it was to seal the boundless essence blood within their bodies. As time passed, they would gradually fall. He raised a hand, covering the entire starry sky. If not for the immortal binding ropes suppressing this place, his aura would have filled the entire stellar domain, releasing the world's most unmatched fighting strength. Ancestral Palace and Underworld races experts were like ants, crawling and trembling. This person was too terrifying, an unmatched giant of the cosmos. However, right when this hand was about to wipe them all out, at the limits of the cosmos, an expanse of resplendent divine radiance surged, illuminating the starry sky, making a corner of the cosmos dazzling. That was an enormous figure that filled the cosmos. He sat at the very end, the sun, moon, and stars revolving around his body, making him seem extremely insignificant. It was to the extent where the moment he crossed over, the heavens collapsed and the seas split apart. Suns fell one after another, countless great stars in the cosmos shattered. His aura was too terrifying, able to pierce through a boundless stellar domain at any time, releasing the most flourishing fighting strength. Long. He reached out a palm from the distance. The figures of 3,000 gods and devils appeared, containing unprecedented power, blocking the burial race leader's palm. Ancient Ancestor. Ancestral Palace's experts were ecstatic. This was Ancestral Palace's pillar of support, glorious for an era, killing who knew how many burial region experts. Now that he took action, he would definitely be able to stop the burial region's leader. I didn't expect you to still be alive. However, your blood energy is declining right now. How much of your strength can you display? Ancestral Palace's ancient ancestor said coldly, his voice grand, spreading through the entire life ancient star. He looked down at the burial race leader, his voice cold. Then you can come and give it a try. Let's see if I can kill you. The old leader said coldly, if you can kill me, your burial region bloodline will also be wiped out, Ancestral Palace's ancient ancestors said coldly. Even now, you still aren't willing to hand over the Mother Scripture? These words made the burial region's elders' eyes burn with hatred. The reason why they chased after the burial region's people was all for the Mother Scripture. The legendary Mother Scripture, even the burial region's old experts hadn't seen it before. Hand over the immortal jades, and we can let your descendants go. A cruel and cold voice exploded. The boundless starry domain trembled, covered by bloody light. A terrifying, giant, vicious beast slaughtered its way over. Its entire body was blood-red, and Kung Chong sounds rang out. It was like a terrifying ancient corpse, releasing a fiendish, demonic aura that was like a raging sea. His awakening was like the sea of purgatory, his power too shocking. He could also be considered an unrivaled giant in this cosmos. Ancestral Palace's ancient ancestor, Underworld Shadow's ancient ancestor, two giants appeared. They laughed coldly. You all have no hope, already at the end of the road. However, with just this bit of clansmen, do you all still have a chance of turning the tables in the future? You have two great treasures, so why don't you hand them over in exchange for the lives of your clansmen? My clansmen, even if the last drop of blood flows into our bodies, we will fight to the end, kill all enemies. Chapter 346. I can't see anything anymore. Little Miss Muddle's eyes were pierced with pain. He couldn't see anything, only able to hear the great noise that shook the heavens. This was the attack of a giant. The starry sky, guarded by the immortal binding rope, exploded, world-destroying lights surging. The fluctuations that gushed out making even the great Tao tremble. The moment they collided, Realm-Birth Realm was destroyed, the stars filling the sky falling like gravel, producing a terrifying scene of the sun and moon sinking. If not for the immortal binding rope sealing this place, then this entire star domain would have trembled. Kill! The old leader's appearance raised the fighting spirit of the burial region's elders. Their bodies' battle intent overflowed into the heavens, full of matchless aura. They threw themselves at the enemy, bathed in blood, as if a group of gods and devils were awakening here. Blood flowed, bones were breaking. The scene of a sea of blood. Even gods and devils had to nurse a grievance. Supreme treasures destroyed. This could be called a struggle between gods. That vicious energy engulfed the heavens of the cosmos, making this tottering life, ancient star continuously collapse. If not for the burial region's elders risking their lives to resist, not allowing the enemy to slaughter their way over, then this life, ancient star would have already collapsed, the great tribes destroyed. Grandpa, a child with a comparatively calmer aura, clenched his fists, his eyes completely red. The moment the blood within his body boiled, it was as if a shadow was moving behind him, as if a war god was about to cross realms. Without a doubt, every child's bloodline was powerful. Right now, they were all activated by anger, releasing primitive killing intent. It was as if their ancestors were about to revive, fight another generation, carve out a bloody path for the burial region's bloodline. Children, follow me. Right at this time, several dozen elders rushed into the tribe. Their bodies were covered in blood, as if they were war gods who slaughtered their way out of hell, their bodies releasing a terrifying bloody aura. Moreover, they were doing their best to hide their killing intent, fearing that they would harm these children. There were several thousand children from the entire tribe that joined. However, a group was moved away a while ago, so now there were only 300 children. For them, these children were their hope. Even if they fell, died in battle, they didn't wish for the children to be harmed in the slightest. I want to leave with the elders. Grandpa definitely won't lose. I want to leave with Grandpa. These children were all hot-blooded and weren't willing to become deserters. They even believed that the elders would return victorious. Good children, one day, you will also become powerful warriors, but not now. Now, your mission is to follow us and fight our way out. Su Dalong was draped in a flood dragon robe. He was tall and exuded a peerless aura. He was one of the strongest warriors of the burial region. The essence blood in his body rumbled like a raging sea. Dalong, this immortal binding rope, is a priceless, precious treasure. Now that it's here, do you have any hope of fighting your way out? An old expert who was already missing an arm said, with a serious tone. There was a great sun behind his head that scattered down endless divine radiance, making him look like a golden war god. I'm not sure, Su Dalong said in a low voice. Just now, the old leader gave me a treasure. He said that it could open the immortal binding rope. This treasure is a relic left behind by a terrifying progenitor of the burial realm. Hearing this, the injured old men's spirits were shaken. Cold light flashed in their eyes. If they could escort the children away, then they would have no more worries. Time is of the essence. Let's move out now. Su Dalong flicked his sleeve, bringing out a treasure that was suffused with the aura of time. This was a stone statue. Its aura was extremely ancient, chaotic energy swirling about it. The stone statue's entire body was suffused with clear splendor. It was difficult to determine how long it had existed. Could this be the stone statue of our burial region's ancestor? The old man with the great sun behind his head was shocked. His name was Yiyang. When his eyes opened and closed, divine light shot out in all directions. This stone statue looked ordinary, but when they looked at it, their minds trembled. It was as if they were looking at a boundless sea of primal chaos. It was truly terrifying. Su Dalong and the others were shocked. What kind of expert left this behind? Even with their cultivation, they couldn't see the stone statue's true appearance. This made them feel reverence. They said in unison, "We hope that our ancestors' spirit will protect our burial region's bloodline and fight our way out." How long? The ancient stone statue sat in the void. It had come back to life. There weren't any powerful fluctuations, but when this stone statue stretched its limbs, it released strands of wondrous fluctuations that resonated with the entire universe. Some of the old men turned pale with horror. This stone statue was too terrifying. It was as if it had come back to life. It still looked like a stone statue, but the fluctuations it released swept out layer after layer, making the sealed universe tremble along with it. What kind of treasure is that? There were experts from the ancestral palace who noticed the changes in the tribe. They seemed to see a space-time wormhole shining. The aura it released actually pierced through the space-time, imprisoned by the immortal binding rope. It was as if another long river of space-time had been opened. Impossible. One of the underworld race's old ancestors was in disbelief. This place was imprisoned by the immortal binding rope, sealing heaven and earth. Who could escape? However, this treasure actually produced a long river of space-time, like an immortal river. It was extremely terrifying, forcibly opening up a path of escape. Let's go. Su Dalong and the others instantly charged in because the immortal binding rope was awakening. With the strength of the immortal binding rope, it would definitely be able to seal this space-time tunnel again in a short period of time. At that time, it would be difficult to leave. Their speed was astonishing. In less than a breath, they had already escaped into the vast universe and avoided the area sealed by the immortal binding rope. Boom! As soon as they left, the immortal binding rope emanated supreme fluctuations. This rope seemed to be able to restrain true immortals, tear apart the universe, and split open the stellar domain. How long? The vast starry sky suddenly collapsed, turning into a huge pitch-black hole. It was as if a corner of a universe had sunk. The scene was horrifying. Unfortunately, this golden rope couldn't stop Shui Dalong and the others. Haha, we're out. Old man Yiyang laughed loudly. The tense feeling in their hearts gradually relaxed. As long as they sent little Miss Muddle and the others away and ensured the safety of the children, they could also go all out and do what they wanted. Something's wrong. Be on guard. Su Dalong's expression changed abruptly. He held his killing sword that was dripping with blood because he sensed that something was wrong. It was as if they had barged into a mysterious world. It was too quiet here. The sun, moon, and stars seemed to be still. This sort of quiet universe made them uneasy. They were most worried about this sort of unknown matter that they couldn't see through. It made their expressions unsightly, but they didn't want to encounter any difficulties as they were escorting a group of children. The wind is rising. An old man's expression sank. The dozens of old experts were silent, but their auras erupted to their peak. They were secretly on guard. They really didn't believe that the ancestral hall could kill another ancient ancestor. Whoa! The sound of the wind grew louder and louder. It was like thunder that resounded through the stellar domain. The motionless stars were swept up. They seemed to have transformed into a large star that was rotating. It wasn't just one star. There were at least 1,000,000 stars in this vast stellar domain. 1,000,000 stars rotating in unison. This scene made Su Dalong and the others' expressions turn ugly. Something big had definitely happened. Boom! Loud explosions rang out one after another. Some of the children were alarmed as they discovered that millions of stars were being pushed back in a certain direction. It was like a vast wave of stars. This terrifying commotion caused the starry sky to explode one after another. Even this part of the universe was wailing, and the great Tao was trembling. A terrifying power was awakening here. It caused this part of the universe to become dim and lightless. It was as if it had transformed into a dead star. Endless essence energy of the universe had been sucked away. Together with all the stars, they were converging toward the source. Kill! The dozens of old men roared furiously. Their eyes were wide open as they instantly raised their weapons and hacked at the sky. Because the sky had changed, scarlet multicolored light blotted out the sun. This ancient stellar domain was filled with scarlet multicolored light. It burst forth with brilliant light and burned fiercely. The residents of the nearby stellar domain were alarmed and looked up one after another. What's that? The experts on the passing universe battleships trembled. Just as they were about to retreat, the source rumbled on its own. Order interweaved, and the laws of the great Tao manifested. The flames were terrifying. Everything was evaporated. This vast stellar domain had transformed into a huge black hole. The battleships trembled and melted as well. The experts on the battleships and the over 1,000 clansmen on the battleships didn't even make a sound before they were refined into ashes. It was a furnace that had appeared. It emanated the order of the great Tao, while chaos surged within it like an ocean. It was completely crimson red like blood. After awakening slightly, it was terrifying to the point of burning the world. The furnace was inscribed with the images of various ancient divine beasts. At the moment the furnace was revived, it was filled with the energy to refine the universe. It rumbled as it circulated and tried to devour Su Dalong and the others. The heavenly refinement furnace. Su Dalong's eyes were wide open while his blood surged with rage. He roared loudly, "Leave!" He decisively burned his most flourishing life essence and handed the stone statue to Yi Yang. "Let's go!" He roared loudly like a divine phoenix that could burn the world. He was going to risk his life and use his life to resist the heavenly refinement furnace. Dalong, my old brother. The eyes of Yi Yang and the others had turned red. They felt like a knife was being twisted in their hearts as they watched their old brother fight to his death, and their entire bodies trembled. They'd fought side by side on the battlefield and supported each other, and they'd crawled out of hell over and over again. Yet now, they could only swallow their rage and give up on their old brother for the first time. They left with hatred in their hearts, because it was the heavenly refinement furnace. It was too terrifying, and its effects were even more shocking than the immortal binding rope. It was rumored that the heavenly refinement furnace could even refine stellar domains. Flames of rage burned here, and it let out a roar that reached deep into the soul. Right when Yi Yang and the others left, the ancient stone statue glowed. It seemed to have been awakened by the rage of Su Dalong and the others because it was glowing. "Grandpa, he moved." Little Miss Muddle gazed at the stone statue as if she was mesmerized. She felt that the stone statue was familiar with him. Rumble. Chapter 347. The stone statue glowed with a hazy and clear radiance. It contained a type of power that was awakening, charging into the heavens and reaching the depths of hell. This kind of power was indescribable. Moreover, the stone statue stretched its limbs as if it had transformed into a living person. It emitted wave after wave of brilliant and clear radiance that swept through the surroundings, causing the starry sky that was disturbed by the heaven-refining furnace to slowly freeze. What? The expert in charge of the heaven-refining furnace was shocked. This treasure was quite terrifying. It seemed like a terrifying powerhouse had left behind an imprint inside. Now that it had awakened, this stellar region was in turmoil. Clang! Clang! The heaven refining furnace was shaking. It couldn't strike down because the stone statue's power had interfered with it. The heavens are protecting our clan. Su Dalong was pleasantly surprised. This was a supreme treasure, yet it was actually suppressed by the stone statue. They didn't stop and instantly crossed over to take Yi Yang and the others away. However, just as the stone statue was awakening, a golden rope flew over. It was dazzling and monstrous like a golden dragon that pierced through the universe. It was like a golden path that swayed over. The stone statue that was awakening was instantly bound by the immortal binding rope, and the fluctuations that were being released from its body stopped abruptly. What quickly stopped the heaven refining furnace? The expressions of Su Dalong and the others changed drastically. The two supreme weapons were closing in. The immortal binding rope was already heaven-defying enough, so the heaven refining furnace would definitely strike down in an instant. Su Dalong and the others charged forward with their strongest strength and roared furiously to stop the heaven refining furnace. However, this cauldron was terrifying beyond compare. It was like a cauldron that could refine the heavens. When it was activated, the three severely injured old men automatically turned into ashes, and the life essence within them was sucked away. "Bastard, get out of my way!" Su Dalong and the others roared furiously. More than half of the life essence in their bodies had been lost. There were even children who let out miserable cries as they shattered into pieces. Little Miss Muddle also cried out in pain. Strands of life essence leaked out of her body and were swallowed by the heaven refining furnace. Su Yang and the others' eyes were red, and the corners of their eyes were about to collapse. This pain and hatred caused their hearts to tremble. It was as if thousands of swords were stabbing into their bones, and the pain was bone deep. They went mad and wanted to detonate their bodies to stop the heaven refining furnace's power. Boom! Suddenly, the universe exploded and the sun and moon fell. The vast starfield was swept up by a beam of killing light that even affected dozens of nearby starfields. For a time, this vast expanse of the universe was deathly silent. Everyone was stunned. It was like a palm had grabbed their hearts, and it caused them to tremble. Even some great lords at the Grandau realm had goosebumps all over their bodies. This was a murderous sound that pierced through the past, present, and future. At this moment, the primal chaos scattered down like a sea. It was as if a long river of time and space was pouring down in reverse, drowning the universe. A figure stood there. Even with the immortal binding rope binding him, the energy released from his body was endless. The immortal binding rope was shaken until it was twisted. It was like an injured dragon that was shaken out. If not for the immortal binding rope being forged from supreme immortal materials, it would have directly shattered and turned into ashes. Just how terrifying was this? His physical body broke free from the immortal binding rope. Kill! The earth-shaking murderous roar exploded once again. The eyes of the stone statue opened abruptly. He was truly like a living supreme expert. He clenched his fists, and the great Tao of the universe resonated with him. Everything in the universe bloomed along with him. Boom! An invincible strength suddenly struck out. This was an invincible combat strength. It bombarded the heavenly refining cauldron until it trembled. Moreover, the expert controlling the heavenly refining cauldron was destroyed in body and soul by the majestic power radiated by the fist radiance. He let out a trembling voice of fear. What kind of great existence was this? The heavenly refining cauldron could be forcefully shaken by his fist. However, the stable heavenly refining cauldron shook violently. The ancestral hall's ancient ancestor, who was fighting with his life on the line with the old leader, suddenly reached out a hand and grabbed the trembling heavenly refining cauldron. The heavenly refining cauldron that he controlled suddenly became much more terrifying. It spat out ripples that swept across the entire star field. All matter that was affected by the ripples flowed backward and was cleanly swallowed by the heavenly refining cauldron. Suppress. The ancestral hall's ancient ancestor swung the heavenly refining cauldron with one arm at the stone statue. He wanted to suppress the stone statue and see what kind of imprint was inside. Kill. When the third killing cry rang out, the stone statue completely revived. It was like an unrivaled demon lord had crossed the great river of time and space. Fluctuations that drowned out the immortal heavens surged from within. A terrifying great roar sounded, shaking the entire star field until countless great cracks split open. Dong! His fist smashed out, powerful and unstoppable. The heaven's great Tao rumbled in response. The scarlet-red cauldron was crying out in grief, caved in from the force of the strike. The radiance that was reflected made the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor cry out miserably. His entire palm shattered, great amounts of blood scattering outwards. Heavens! The nearby star field's experts who were watching the battle were all scared silly. What kind of heaven-defying method was this? The tyrannical body even caved in the heavenly refining cauldron. The shockwaves that were released even shattered one of the ancestral hall's ancient ancestors' arms. Hurry and leave. There is only a single imprint inside the stone statue. The old leader's voice sounded, making Su Dalong and the others not stay any longer. They tore open a space-time crack and began to cross. Something happened in this star field that was rarely visited by humans. It stirred up great waves with extreme speed. This matter caused an uproar in one universe after another. It alarmed the pinnacle forces of the neutral races in the various universes. The burial realm actually had such a foundation. The sect masters of the various great sects were speechless, their eyes filled with fear. After all, it was a power that had once been at its peak. Although it continued to decline, it still had a world-shaking foundation. They reckoned that the ancestral hall and the Umber race had definitely suffered great losses. Their memories began to blur. Little Miss Muddle and the other children's injuries were too severe. A few dozen more died along the way because the heavenly refining cauldron's energy was too terrifying. Even the slightest bit of energy would cause their life force to be greatly damaged. Some of the children who were originally extremely talented had their life force weakened to the extreme. This caused the old experts' eyes to turn red as they roared. They blamed themselves for not protecting these children well. Little Miss Muddle. Yeon called out to Su Yin, but Little Miss Muddle was drowsy and not lively. His face was pale and his life force was weak. Su Yan's eyes were filled with tears. He searched through his memories and saw many scenes. He endured the pain in his heart and continued searching through his memories. He wanted to know everything. He became Little Miss Muddle again. The time he woke up was very short because the heavenly refining cauldron's influence was too great. Every child had a scar on their body that was very difficult to heal. Su Dalong and the others often cried in pain and roared at the top of their lungs. But soon after, a great battle swept over them. Each battle was more terrifying than the last. There were countless pursuers behind them who were encircling them. They wanted to capture them all in one fell swoop. The Crepe Myrtle sect. In the end, an old man learned that the Ancestral Hall had asked the Crepe Myrtle sect to use the Crepe Myrtle heavenly disc to deduce their whereabouts. This made them go mad with hatred. Everyone wants to step on us, right? Our race has declined, but one day, we'll settle accounts with all of you. They fled all the way, so it was difficult to say who the pursuers were. Even reinforcements had arrived. The faction of the Necropolis had been destroyed a long time ago. Now that the news of the Necropolis being hunted down had spread, groups of experts from the Necropolis had come to protect them, and they had to fight their way out. Have they gone mad? Yeon was slightly terrified. It had already been a month. The pursuers were like hungry wolves that refused to let them go. Their losses were too heavy, and group after group had died all along the way. After another 10 days, Su Dalong captured someone alive and interrogated them. This made their hair stand on end. They felt that this matter was too serious. They're targeting Little Miss Muddle. The heavenly refining cauldron absorbed little Miss Muddle's life essence. They've sensed how terrifying this substance is. Su Dalong and the others were extremely worried. Little Miss Muddle woke up again. He was in a daze. When he saw the elders, he was in a daze because he had forgotten some things. He waved his little hand and laughed heartlessly. It's good that you've forgotten. Yi Yang rubbed little Miss Muddle's head. His injuries were too severe, and he had forgotten some things. However, they discovered to their shock that little Miss Muddle had survived again. His injuries were healing. Dalong sighed. Little Miss Muddle survived all those years ago. The heavenly refining cauldron can't stop him. He'll definitely be able to get up again. On this day, they planned to split up. Su Dalong and the others brought little Miss Muddle along on their way. They had made a decision. Are we really going back? We haven't opened this path for many years. Yang was still not confident because the back progenitor was too mysterious. They had never been there. This is our only chance. The ancestral hall won't give up so easily. If this continues, our lives will be in danger. We won't be able to protect little Miss Muddle anymore. Su Dalong roared. We have to return to the back progenitor. I have to open Heaven Mountain and send little Miss Muddle back. I have to send him home. Home, Yang muttered to himself. The burial region had an ancestral ground called the back progenitor. This was their hometown. If they wanted to return to the back progenitor, they had to pass through Heaven Mountain. This was because they didn't know the location of the back progenitor. Even the old leader didn't know. Moreover, they had never been to the back progenitor. There was even an ancestral rule that the back progenitor couldn't be opened frequently because it would expose the coordinates of the back progenitor. Home, little Miss Muddle muttered. He woke up again, but he was in a daze. His condition was better, but he had forgotten many things. Home, Su Dalong was even more determined. The ancestral hall definitely wouldn't give up. They really hoped that little Miss Muddle would grow up in an isolated world. One day, he could return and become a warrior. The back progenitor. Su Yin clenched his fists tightly. His memories were very blurry and intermittent. However, this was a bloody path. Su Dalong and the others fought with their lives on the line and killed their way to the Star Vault. They opened the Star Vault by force and attracted even more enemies. This was the great battle from over 100 years ago. Originally, it was all related to little Su Yin. Yi Yang and the others charged in madly, opened the Star Vault by force, and found traces of Heaven Mountain. If they wanted to open Heaven Mountain, they needed immortal jades. I'm back here again. Su Yin tried hard to search for his memories. Every memory was stained with blood, and it filled him with grief. He saw one old grandpa after another fall before him. In order to escort little Miss Muddle home, they sacrificed their lives. In order to escort him home, they returned to the back progenitor. The great battle was very terrifying. Su Yin couldn't see it clearly. His memories were filled with the light of destruction that destroyed everything. He faintly saw that more reinforcements had arrived. It was very terrifying. They blocked the ancestral hall's army and opened a bloody path for little Miss Muddle. When little Miss Muddle woke up again, he found himself in a special space. The light inside was too glaring, and he couldn't see clearly. However, there was a crystal pendant around his neck. Su Yin understood. It was an immortal jade. Only an immortal jade could open the immortal mountain. Grandpa Dalong, Grandpa Yang, where are we going? Little Miss Muddle asked curiously. He had forgotten many things again, but only these benevolent faces were imprinted in his heart. It was very difficult to forget. Just as Su Dalong was about to answer, this space seemed to be slightly terrifying. Black fog emerged from the ground and surged. It contained an aura that could devour one's marrow and was about to devour them. Oh no, there's chaos in the ancestral hall's place of suppression. Su Dalong's face sank. He tossed little Miss Muddle to the dome of the space, to the coordinates of a majestic star. Grandpa, little Miss Muddle was frightened. He reached out and wanted to grab them. Good child, remember this. Su Dalong laughed heroically. You must cultivate well and work hard to become a powerful warrior. In the future, you will use your strong arms to shelter us from the wind and rain. Good child, the journey is long. You must be careful. Chapter 348. The Tao platform was huge and ancient. It was like a vast star. A figure sat cross-legged on the Tao platform, as small as an ant. It was quiet here. Su Yin sat cross-legged and recalled the scenes. Although the memories were short, they were engraved in his heart. I'm back. Su Yin clenched his fists. His chest rose and fell violently. His emotions were stirred. A bloody path filled with cruelty and blood. The old men of the burial region used their bodies to protect him and opened up a bloody path for him. In the end, they rushed here and sent him home. Now he was back, but it had been over 100 years. The blood of the burial region flows in my body. Grandpa DeLong, Grandpa Yiyong, how are you? And Grandpa Guang Xin, Grandpa Honglang. His eyes were bright and filled with a fierce aura. There were too many familiar yet blurry figures. They were tall, had peerless auras, and would never admit defeat. In the battle of that year, they used their sturdy arms to open up a bloody path for the children of the burial region. Grandpa Flame Sea. Some experiences were always so hard to remember. Su Yin felt suffocated. In order to save him, the old man used his strongest treasure to protect Su Yin. He used his flesh and blood to open up a path for him. In the end, he chose to take the enemy down with him. Su Yan's black hair fluttered without wind. He was no longer the child of that year. He already possessed some strength. What's wrong? The miser scratched his head with his wings. He noticed that something was wrong with Su Yin. He walked over and asked, "What's wrong?" That's the Big Dipper fist. It's a heavenly ability. It's the strongest secret art in the Big Dipper starfield. Although it's the strongest in history, it's enough to dominate a region. Do you know about the Daozu Hall? Su Yin retracted his killing intent and looked at the miser. The miser was slightly stunned. He hesitated for a moment and said, "Why are you suddenly asking about the Ancestral Hall? Do you have a grudge with them?" That organization is extremely mysterious and ancient. Of course, don't doubt how terrifying they are. They're so powerful that they can suffocate the peak powers of the universe. Be more specific. Su Yin asked again. The inheritance of the Ancestral Hall is very ancient. Moreover, this organization is very mysterious. If you want to trace it back, I'm afraid it originated from the Desolate Era because of the collapse of the burial region. At this point, Su Yin clenched his fists. His ancestors, and even the ancestral planet, should belong to the bloodline of the realm of burial. He had come to the bloodline of the realm of burial through Heaven Mountain, which meant that Heaven Mountain was also one of the 9 great immortal mountains. The ancestral land of the Ancestral Hall is on the Ancestral Star. It's said that the Ancestral Star is the most terrifying ancient star. The Ancestral Hall has occupied the Ancestral Star. The Ancestral Hall has always been strong. Generations after generations, they can produce invincible young paragons. Are there strong and weak ancient planets? Su Yin was surprised. Of course. Don't forget that a supreme ancient planet can also evolve into the strongest ancient planet. Tai Rooster said, "What is the strongest?" As the name suggests, it's the peak of what this universe can accommodate. Kid, do you think the universe is big enough? Could there be an even more vast and boundless starry sky? Su Yin shook his head at Tai Rooster's words. I don't care about that. This universe is enough for me to fight for. I'm digressing. Tai Rooster scratched his head. No matter what, the Ancestral Hall is too powerful. Do you know about the burial region? Even if the burial region declined, the Ancestral Hall wouldn't chase after them. They even lost the progenitor. This progenitor originally belonged to the burial region. Progenitor, later progenitor. A cold light flashed in Su Yan's eyes. He didn't doubt Tai Rooster's words. Some people say that the collapse of the burial region's bloodline was due to a decline after reaching the peak of prosperity. Some people say that it was related to the Ancestral Hall, and some people say that it was related to their ancestors. However, as for exactly how the burial region's bloodline declined, it is very difficult to say from the current records. Of course, no one cares about this matter. Su Yin kept silent. In the past, the Ancestral Hall had joined forces with the Dark Underworld race to kill their ancient life, start a search for the Mother Scripture and the Immortal Jade. Mother Scripture. At this point, Su Yin had a shocking conjecture. The Mother Scripture and the Celestial Jade were both related to the 9 great celestial mountains. The scripture that he cultivated was most likely the Mother Scripture. In that case, the 2 things that the Ancestral Hall had been looking for countless years were on Su Yan's body. However, he was surprised. What was the Heaven Coffin? The Ancestral Hall had been searching for the Heaven Coffin in the vast universe. They've been searching for the Heaven Coffin. I'm afraid it's not the later progenitor. That should be the case. Perhaps the Heaven Coffin is the most terrifying thing. Su Yin pondered. He had sunk into a mystery. How exactly did the lineage of the burial region decline? It was a mystery. It was like a space-time fault. Everything had been erased. To be able to erase this kind of event, one could see how much darkness was behind it. He took a deep breath and recalled Su Dalong's words when he sent him away. He had restrained his hatred. It was ridiculous to talk about hatred now. I want to be a powerful warrior. I want to leave the Big Dipper Star area to find Grandpa Dalong, the Ancestral Hall, and the Dark Underworld race. Grandpa Dalong and the others have paid a great price to send me away. I can't let them down. It's been more than 100 years. I've wasted too much time. Su Yan's eyes flashed with determination. He wanted to be like the old leader. He wanted to shelter the burial region from the wind and rain. Su Yan was completely silent. He sat cross-legged on the platform and raised his head to look at the stars and the universe hanging in the starry sky. He began to enter the process of cultivation. He wanted to take a look at Heaven Mountain. He didn't know what Su Dalong and the others had encountered. He was afraid that the demon fog here and the souls trapped in the Big Dipper Palace were related to Heaven Mountain. He had the Immortal Jade that could open Heaven Mountain. He guessed that Su Dalong had asked him to give him the Immortal Jade because he knew that the later progenitor also had an Immortal Mountain. It contained the strongest inheritance of the burial region. Then Heaven Mountain might also contain the inheritance. After my research, Heaven Mountain is hidden here. Miser said with certainty. Don't you know the Big Dipper Fist? Maybe if you comprehend the strongest Big Dipper Fist, you can find the space where the Immortal Mountain is. Su Yin still couldn't find any clues. This starry sky was too majestic. It belonged to an independent space-time. Su Yan's eyes observed the 7 big stars. Su Yan's cultivation of the Big Dipper had already reached the acme of perfection. The Big Dipper Fist required the fusion of the 7 stars. This fusion process was the gateway to the secret techniques of the heavens. As long as Su Yin could master this step, it wouldn't be difficult for him to evolve the Big Dipper Fist. These celestial bodies contain shocking divine auras, just like the 7 supreme life ancient planets. Su Yin thought to himself, now that my primordial spirit has entered the emptiness realm, the speed of my comprehension has increased by many times. I should be able to master the Big Dipper Fist in a short time. Su Yin had already grasped the path to mastering the Big Dipper Fist. Therefore, it wouldn't be difficult for him to further strengthen it. Su Yin was immersed in his cultivation. He observed the 7 stars, and his aura changed from time to time. His entire being was a little terrifying. The primordial spirit of the void returning realm was of great help to Su Yin. Not only did his overall combat strength increase tremendously, he could also comprehend some things very quickly. Su Yan's consciousness started to merge with the 7 stars as he entered seclusion. Time passed day by day. The Big Dipper star gradually stabilized. Many of the older generation from the major galaxies came to the Big Dipper star to comprehend the Tao. Is it over? A large group of experts left the Ancestral Palace. It seems like they can't open the Demon Fog Forbidden Zone. The Ancestral Palace has suffered great losses. Many of their experts stepped into the Demon Fog Forbidden Zone and haven't returned yet. They probably died in there. It's a pity for Su Yin. He has been trapped in the Demon Fog Forbidden Zone for 2 months. It's impossible for him to come out alive. It's really a pity. Su Yin has shocked the surrounding dozens of galaxies. He killed Kong Yuan and more than a dozen of the Ancestral Palace's knights. He is really terrifying. He can even kill the head of the Shui family. Many people felt that it wasn't worth it for Su Yin. It had already been 2 months, and they felt that it was impossible for a miracle to appear. Can Su Yin come back? In the Cosmos Business Alliance, Zi Xiaoning was wearing a sexy qipao. She was beautiful and enchanting as she stood in the courtyard, her black hair fluttering in the wind. Her eyes were like limpid autumn waters, her lips were bright red, and her snow-white skin was supple and translucent. She was so beautiful that it was suffocating, but her face was full of worry, which made her look very lovable. If Su Yin really died, then the treasure would also be buried in the Demon Fog Forbidden Zone. The Ancestral Palace couldn't open the Forbidden Zone no matter what they did, let alone Zi Xiaoning's power. But the troublesome thing was that her clan sister, Zi Xiaoning, had actually helped Su Yin find the treasure. She even reported it to the family, saying that the treasure was lost because of Zi Xiaoning's interference. According to the information she received, some family ancestors were furious and dissatisfied with Zi Xiaoning. This is quite troublesome. I hope you can come back safely. Zi Xiaoning sighed and gazed at the Big Dipper region. She really hoped to see Su Yin again. The area within 100,000 miles of the Demon Fog Forbidden Zone had become a forbidden zone. No one dared to enter. The Demon Fog Forbidden Zone was very quiet. Sometimes shrill screams could be heard. These were the experts of the Ancestral Palace. They died in the Demon Fog Forbidden Zone. Anyone who barged into the Demon Fog Forbidden Zone would be treated the same. Immortal Mountain, I see it, ha. However, there was a skinny man crawling on the ground, his pupils flashing with passion and greed. Bastard from the burial realm, I didn't find any trace of him along the way. Did he go in? Thinking about this, Zhu Yinshan's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He said coldly, I can definitely get in. So many old bastards protected you back then. I think he's the one I'm looking for. Don't let me down, you fish that escaped the net back then. He didn't know who Su Yin was or where Little Miss Muddle came from. This was a top secret of the Ancestral Palace. However, Zhu Yinshan knew that more than 100 years ago, the Ancestral Palace's experts came out and took away many children in order to investigate a certain matter. Now, a child who disappeared from the Star Tomb appeared again and even came back alive. This alarmed the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor. If it wasn't for the great loss from the battle 100 years ago, he would have personally come out to suppress this child. Little B. Astor starred, The Fish That Escaped the Net. I hope you are still alive. Chapter 349. A month had passed, and Su Yin had been comprehending the fist of the Big Dipper. Su Yan's transcendence divine power overflowed from his treasure body, covering the vast void. The hazy aura of the galaxy flowed here. Su Yan's body was like a star, appearing and disappearing in the void, exuding complicated transcendence laws. Strands of laws flowed and spread in the void, turning into 7 streaks of light, like 7 golden rivers. His body trembled from time to time, gushing with spiritual essence and transcendence divine power. His comprehension of the fist of the Big Dipper had reached a crucial point. Su Yan's body was filled with a domineering aura at all times, like a real star floating here. As time passed, his body became more and more blazing. Primitive energy surrounded him, and his blood essence rose and fell like smoke signals. His powerful body was like a small world, shining with brilliant starlight. His eyes suddenly opened. The moment he stood up, heaven and earth hummed with him. Wisps of heavy aura spread out involuntarily, distorting the surrounding void and causing fine cracks to appear. The moment he raised his hands and feet, it was like a sealed star was awakening. This was a very terrifying manifestation. Su Yin seemed to have turned into a real star. When he began to erupt, his whole body rose with a terrifying airflow. Big Dipper, the transcendence power, surged up like a brilliant sea of stars in the sky, beautiful and brilliant. Huge stars were constructed by the transcendence power. There were a total of 7 great stars in the universe. They revolved around Su Yin, making him look like the master of the stars. Su Yin rushed up and threw a punch. The 7 stars resonated, and a majestic sea of stars rose behind Su Yan. It emitted the power of the heavens, as if it was suppressing the starry sky of the universe. He found that the Big Dipper fist was operating to the extreme, and the 7 great stars hanging in the sky resonated with it. Su Yan's eyes were like lightning. He let out a shout and punched up. Everything merged into one, turning into a golden star. The terrifying aura overflowed, causing the void to tremble. As Su Yan waved the Big Dipper fist, the 7 great stars hanging in the sky roared and merged into one. The Big Dipper fist that Su Yan had evolved was a key that opened the door that was hidden here. However, what astonished Su Yan was that when the 7 huge stars moved and merged into one, a figure appeared in this vast starry sky. She was exceptionally beautiful, and her might suppressed the universe's starry sea. Unfortunately, it was only a silhouette, unable to admire her peerless elegance. He could only feel her peerless majesty that swallowed the universe. Could this be the founder of the Big Dipper lineage? Tai Gongji said in shock. Rumor has it that the founder of the Big Dipper lineage is a woman with amazing talent. Could it be that the rumor is true? Tianshan Town has been here for 1,000,000 years? The Big Dipper lineage originated from the Desolate Era 1,000,000 years ago. If this woman was really the founder of the Big Dipper sect, then Tianshan Town had been here for at least 1,000,000 years. This made their hearts tremble. A mark that had existed for 1,000,000 years was still very shocking. She seemed to be here to protect Tianshan Town. This blurry silhouette emitted a vast fluctuation, as if it was sweeping through the past, present, and future. At this moment, Su Yan and Iron Rooster were frightened from the bottom of their souls. Their souls seemed to be sucked into the vast universe, vast and boundless. In this universe, everything belonged to her. How terrifying! Iron Rooster broke out in a cold sweat. He felt that this woman was very likely still alive. Otherwise, how could she have such heaven-defying means? Without a doubt, this was a test. It was as if she was testing their origins. Since there was a mark guarding this place, it meant that Tianshan Town was too important. Not just anyone could enter. Su Yan speculated that the Big Dipper lineage in the Desolate Era was related to the Burial Realm. Boom! Just as Su Yan was silent in shock, the world rumbled. The scene shattered, and they returned to the Big Dipper Palace. The 7 stars had merged into one. A universe star appeared and rumbled as it rotated. Of course, this was a sealed star. A key was needed to open this space. Su Yan saw a depression. His hand trembled slightly as he took out a crystal pendant. This was the key to opening the seal. What is this? Iron Rooster was shocked. He saw the crystal pendant in Su Yan's hand. The crystal pendant was placed in the depression. The sealed star shook and an ancient door opened. You have the key to open Tianshan Town? Iron Rooster gasped and said in disbelief, You can't be from the Burial Realm, right? What is that key? Su Yan did not reply and stepped into the door. Arriving here was like trespassing into another time and space. What greeted him was an extremely vast and pure sea of stars. Su Yan's entire being was submerged because the divine power of this vast sea of stars was too exuberant. The strands of divine power were like the energy of the 9 heavens and contained a divine effect that was greatly beneficial to cultivation. This inexhaustible power of the sea of stars passed through Su Yan's body, causing his skin to glow as if he had eaten a great tonic. This is the Big Dipper ancestral vein. Su Yan's eyes widened with joy. This was the essence of the strongest life ancient star. The divine energy it contained was unparalleled. We're rich. We're rich. Iron Rooster flew over excitedly and said, The Big Dipper ancestral vein is actually here. Even among the 10 strongest life ancient stars, those who are qualified to cultivate here can be counted on one hand. I didn't expect to find it. First of all, the divine energy contained in the Big Dipper ancestral vein was very suitable for cultivation. Moreover, it contained the power of the Great Tao. If one cultivated here for a long time, the benefits would be great. Su Yan absorbed the energy here. His entire precious body shone, and the divine might contained within was soaring. This kind of energy was too pure, and he didn't even need to refine it. He could directly swallow it into his stomach to strengthen his own cultivation. Too comfortable, Su Yin sank into the endless sea of stars' divine energy and floated there. His entire body continued to blaze as he absorbed the ancestral veins' power. Even the core disciples of peak powers would not receive such treatment. Although the ancestral veins' divine energy was endless, there was always a limit. This was the most precious resource. No matter how much there was, it could not withstand the squandering of a great sect. Of course, for Su Yin, with his cultivation, it would take him 1,000 years or even 10,000 years to absorb it. For the vast Big Dipper ancestral vein, it was equivalent to taking away a bowl of water. What surprised Su Yin was that the dragon totem had awakened. It began to absorb the Big Dipper ancestral vein's energy. He was looking forward to the dragon totem becoming stronger. Moreover, the dragon totem's absorption speed was definitely 10,000 times faster than Su Yan's. It was like the eye of a sea was absorbing the ancestral vein's essence. Even so, the Big Dipper ancestral vein did not consume much. Su Yin sat cross-legged in the Big Dipper ancestral vein and evolved the great Tao heavenly furnace. His absorption speed was even faster as he seized the creation of heaven and earth and strengthened the divine energy in his body. Every day passed. The divine energy he accumulated increased by leaps and bounds. Even his treasure body gradually became stronger under the nourishment of the Big Dipper ancestral vein. Su Yin discovered that this energy could help the great Tao heavenly furnace. This meant that there was a vague, great Tao power in the Big Dipper ancestral vein. In the blink of an eye, 10 days passed. He broke through to the Transcendence 6th level. This realm was a little important. The divine energy in Su Yan's body doubled. If it was calculated with heaven's essence stones, the amount needed would be huge. His combat strength increased even more, and the battle body he cultivated gradually became stronger. Once he circulated his body like a heavenly furnace, he would be filled with terrifying combat strength. Perhaps it would not be so difficult to face a quasi-Tao cultivator. The dragon totem is asleep again. Su Yin was surprised. He did not know how much divine energy the dragon totem had absorbed, but when it awakened, it would definitely be no small matter. Su Yin, come over quickly. At this moment, Iron Rooster's voice came. He stopped cultivating and crossed in Iron Rooster's direction. When he reached the depths, he saw Sky Mountain. The Big Dipper ancestral vein flowed at the bottom of Sky Mountain. He looked up at the dome. Above the dome, there were tens of thousands of rays of light, filled with the aura of time and space fluctuations. It was as if a vast river of time and space floated above. Kid, did you notice? Iron Rooster was unusually excited. Do you feel that there's something wrong with this space? Hearing this, Su Yan's eyes narrowed slightly. He carefully sensed, and his entire person became one with the void. He even used a trace of spatial power to comprehend. This made his hair stand on end because he realized that the flow of time was a little slow. The flow of time, oh my God, what kind of supreme treasure created by a great existence. Iron Rooster's tone was reverent. It has existed for millions of years, and it still exists. Moreover, the flow of time here is very shocking. It's very likely that 10 days to half a month have passed outside when we're here for one day. Su Yan's emotions surged, and he clenched his fists. This was the opportunity he longed for. He needed time now, because he needed time to cultivate to the peak of the Transcendence realm. Su Yin struggled to open his eyes and stared at the dome. In the past, he was sent to the dome and went to Earth. This place could definitely help him cross to Earth. The more Su Yin looked up, the more dazzling the light was. Then, he saw an inconceivable scene. It was an extremely majestic thing. It was like a corner of a continent that had appeared above the dome. It actually looked very small. However, upon closer inspection, The corner of the continent floating at the edge of the dome contained terrifying spatial power, as if billions of layers of space-time were stacked together. As a result, it looked as if he was looking at a boundless territory. It was too magnificent and vast. A corner of a territory. Why do I feel that it's even bigger than Alcade Planet? Su Yin let out a shocked voice. There's an ancient rumor. Iron Rooster's tone was solemn. According to rumors, during the barbaric era, the entire universe was actually one. It was an unparalleled celestial body, a super powerful and terrifying continent. You mean to say that the Big Dipper constellation and the other constellations are connected as one? Su Yin didn't quite believe it. He felt that it was too surreal. However, after thinking about it carefully, he felt a kind of reverence towards this method from the bottom of his soul. He was thinking that Su Dalong knew Earth's spatial coordinates and threw him to the coordinates to return to Earth. Then, wouldn't there be a super teleportation array here that could lead to various regions of the universe? It said that the universe encountered a great calamity and its territory collapsed. It turned into many constellations and formed the current universe. This rumor was too ancient and terrifying. Who would believe it? Su Yin sat cross-legged on the ground and secretly channeled the spatial profundity he had grasped. He wanted to see the whole picture of the dome. His eyes were also emitting a terrifying light. This was the power of space. If he could control it, it would be amazing. He could definitely kill a quasi-Dao realm cultivator. The moment Su Yin secretly channeled the spatial profundity he had grasped, he saw something different. The space in front of him rippled, and a black shadow appeared. Its aura was very ancient, like an ancient god. It was breathtaking. Oh my God, there's a person here, sitting cross-legged in front of us. Chapter 350. Su Yin instantly became vigilant. He even felt like he'd encountered an old demon. Who's that? Tai Rooster stood on Su Yan's shoulder. That black shadow was very blurry. Although it was sitting cross-legged in front of them, it was sitting cross-legged in another space. It was as if it was millions of miles away. It was too far. It's him. Su Yin tried his best to open his eyes and take a look. It didn't take long for him to gasp as he recognized the person. It was the mysterious man he'd met in Brilliant City. Su Yin had even bought buns for him to eat in the past. However, the man in black was sitting cross-legged in a unique space. It was like he wasn't in the same space as them. His entire body seemed rather illusory and unreal, but he emanated a strand of spiritual will that could suppress all enemies in the world. It's a brand. Tai Rooster shuddered. Su Yin had also noticed that it was a blurry brand. His expression changed indeterminately as he tried his best to search through his memories. When Su Dalong had sent him off, he and Yang had both seen the demonic mist in Sky Mountain. Sky Mountain seemed to be suppressing something. The demonic mist definitely couldn't be easily dealt with. Could it be that it couldn't be suppressed anymore? Could he have come here all those years ago? The source of the demonic mist was suppressed. Su Yin muttered inwardly, but who's that old demon in Big Dipper Hall? How did he escape? Could he have escaped? Did the Buddhist talisman suppress the Big Dipper Hall to prevent him from escaping? He thought of many things, but what was suppressed under Sky Mountain? Su Yin was puzzled. How much demonic mist was there? Would it continue to erupt? Could it be that Sky Mountain couldn't suppress it anymore? Su Yin didn't dare act rashly for fear of destroying the situation here. I can cultivate to the peak of the Transcendence realm in a short time by using the flow of time here. Su Yan's eyes were filled with anticipation. Only by taking that step would he have the right to come into contact with the Grand Dao and become an expert. Tai Rooster said with disdain, "Kid, don't blame me for not reminding you. You only need a sufficient foundation to cultivate to the peak of the Transcendence realm. Do you know what this place is? This is Sky Mountain. It contains the great mysteries of space and time. Time and space, including space, void. If you can comprehend even a sliver of it, it will benefit you for the rest of your life. Moreover, you don't just control a sliver of the power of space. If you can control this sliver of power and even stabilize it, then it will be truly incredible. It will be enough to kill a quasi-Dao realm cultivator. Even Dharma idols, infinity, and space are related. If you can control a trace of the power of space, then your accumulation in the transcendence realm will be extremely terrifying. It's very likely that you'll be able to cultivate to the peak. Every realm had its limits, but who could be so lucky time and time again to cultivate to the limit? If he hadn't accidentally obtained the yin-yang fish, Su Yin wouldn't have been able to dig out his strongest limit in the divine ability secret realm. Of course, comprehending this kind of thing consumes too much time. Fortunately, there is time acceleration here. No matter what Su Yin was thinking, Iron Rooster had already started to feel the power of Sky Mountain. He wanted to control the power of space. Su Yin wanted to climb to the top to take a look, but he quickly shook his head. If he really went there, he might end up in another star system. He'd spent a lot of effort to get here, and he didn't want to leave now. Let's cultivate. Su Yin once again returned to the Big Dipper ancestral vein. The moment he absorbed the ancestral vein's power, the power of his primordial spirit surged out, and he started to comprehend the great power of Sky Mountain. As soon as he entered the vast river of time and space, Su Yin felt as if he had spent thousands of years. This made him speechless. This power was indescribable. Because he had comprehended a trace of the power of space, Su Yin's comprehension was relatively easier. Just like that, his life in seclusion began. Someone has comprehended the great Tao and stepped into the great Tao realm, soaring to the sky. When the news spread, it caused a huge commotion. It had been 5 months since the Big Dipper was unsealed. There were already more than 10 people who had stepped into the quasi-Tao realm. But now an older generation cultivator had broken through and stepped into the quasi-Tao realm. It attracted everyone's attention. Everyone in the vicinity looked at him with envy. This was an unbelievably old cultivator. His hair had fallen out completely, and he would pass away at any time. Who wouldn't be envious that he had comprehended the great Tao at such an old age? After all, when one's cultivation stepped into the great Tao realm, they would receive the nourishment of the great Tao of heaven and earth. They would become several decades younger, and their bodies would be filled with the great Tao phenomenon of a huge dragon. He turned into an old man who looked to be in his 60s or 70s. His body was filled with blood essence, and he let out a series of loud laughter that shook the heavens. Why do I look so similar to Shueguan? Someone was astonished. A few days later, another piece of news spread throughout the Big Dipper Star region, and the various races were moved. An old man who was about to die had broken through. What kind of inheritance and foundation did Shueguan possess? It's Shueguan's great-grandfather, Xue Jingtian. Is the Xue family going to prosper? To think that Xue Jingtian could break through before he passed away. The Xue family was bustling with activity. The various great forces of the Big Dipper Star region came to visit with great gifts. Even the nearby star regions had great forces coming to visit. For a time, the entire Xue family was bustling with noise and excitement. It had never been so prosperous before. How strong is Shueguan? He has been silent for half a year. Now, Su Yin of the Big Dipper Star region has fallen, and the whereabouts of the Supreme Physique are unknown. Who can contend against him? A few days later, news spread throughout the Big Dipper Star region and shook the surrounding star regions. The Xue family became even more lively. Even a few influential figures from great sects came to pay a visit. They were actually interacting with Shueguan of the same generation. This was truly shocking and shocking. This was just too terrifying. Big news. Shueguan and his great-grandfather, Xue Jingtian, exchanged blows. He actually withstood over 100 moves. Although he was defeated, he also possesses an invincible foundation. In the future, he will be able to contend with the young overlords of the various star regions. This matter caused a great commotion. Shueguan was still at the quasi-Tao realm, but some people saw that Shueguan's entire body was emitting a terrifying aura. With a loud roar, he blasted open mountains and shot into the starry sky with boundless divine light. The light of the great Tao was as deep as the sea. Ha ha! Xue Jingtian couldn't stop laughing. Shueguan, what a well-deserved champion. If the Big Dipper's supreme physique isn't yours, who else can it be? Shueguan also sighed. He wasn't able to fight against Su Yin. His father had been killed by Su Yin, but who could he find to settle this debt? Shuejing Tian brought a great gift to the Big Dipper clan. Is he trying to resolve the grudge? Everyone was paying attention. Too many members of the Shui family had died at Su Yan's hands. 4 Quasi-Dao realm experts had been killed, and even the Shui family head had died at his hands. Han Jin warmly welcomed him and said that they wouldn't participate in the grudges of the younger generation. Many elders of the Big Dipper clan had an intense reaction. They felt that Su Yan's fall was related to the Shui family. It's said that an old ancestor of the Big Dipper clan has awakened from his slumber. He received Shueguan and praised him greatly. Shuejing Tian brought a great gift to the Big Dipper clan. It's said that Shuejing Tian wants to propose marriage for Shueguan. Now that Shueguan is already at the Quasi-Dao realm, it's only a matter of time before he cultivates to the Great Dao realm. Who is Fairy Big Dipper? No matter how strong Shueguan is, he is no longer in the same realm as Fairy Big Dipper. However, if Shueguan really obtains the title of Big Dipper Supreme, then it's hard to say. There was no conclusion to this matter. Bamboo Moon hadn't come out of seclusion yet, but there were many people who were concerned about this matter. Another month passed, and Shaowen actually stepped into the Great Dao realm. This made the various major forces pay more attention to the Big Dipper clan. It was said that more than 10 members of the Big Dipper clan had stepped into the Quasi-Dao realm, and the clan's foundation had become stronger. Boom! In the space of Heavenly Mountain, a resplendent golden figure stood up. He stretched out his palm, and the world rumbled as if it was about to collapse. This palm didn't look big, but it was like a giant golden palm. In an instant, it slammed forward, causing layers of the void to sink. It contained a terrifying destructive power, and even space twisted, causing ripples of spatial energy to ripple. Su Yan's entire body was filled with the fluctuations of time. He didn't know how many years he had been in seclusion, but he had finally grasped the power of space. Although he hadn't grasped much, the power contained in this power was too shocking. Moreover, he had activated all kinds of divine abilities and secret techniques, and their power had skyrocketed. They were no longer inferior to the various divine abilities evolved by Quasi-Dao realm cultivators. Clang! Clang! He flicked his sleeve, and a cauldron rose from the Big Dipper ancestral clan. On the walls of the cauldron, there were complicated engravings. When the cauldron awakened, it rapidly enlarged. It was like an ancient starry sky cauldron, spewing out the fluctuations of millions of stars. The life cauldron that had evolved to the Dharma characteristic realm had unearthed its shocking potential. After all, it was a supreme-grade astral body. The moment it entered Su Yan's treasure body, Su Yan's body became resplendent. He let out a loud roar, and the divine power that shook his body and the Dharma characteristic fluctuations behind him had a power that extended into the starry sky. Su Yan raised his hand and foot, suppressing the world. He had a feeling that he could control the world, the universe, the void, and even space. This was a strange domain power. Although it was very vague, it possessed extremely powerful combat strength. When it erupted, it was as if 100,000 mountains were being pushed forward. Perfected 7th level Dharma characteristic realm. Su Yan didn't continue to break through because he felt that he still had some room for growth in the Dharma characteristic realm. He didn't want to come into contact with a great Tao too early. My cultivation has reached a bottleneck. I can't continue to improve my jurisdiction like this. Su Yan restrained his aura as his eyes scanned his surroundings. He found that Miser had fallen asleep again, turning into a silver ball of light that was constantly absorbing the energy of the Big Dipper ancestral clan. It's time for me to leave. Before he left, he took away a large amount of the essence of the Big Dipper ancestral clan. After all, it wasn't easy to enter the Devil Fog. He had to be fully prepared. After doing all of this, Su Yan found that Miser had formed a silver eggshell again. There was no aura at all, as if he had turned into a big egg. He was very surprised. What kind of secret technique was this? Su Yin couldn't let Miser stay here alone. He put him into his spatial treasure and left Sky Mountain. When he opened the Big Dipper Palace again, Su Yin felt isolated from the world. I wonder how Bao Kai and the others are doing. Su Yin muttered. Just as he was about to go down the mountain, his expression changed. His expression changed slightly, because he also noticed that there was a person sitting cross-legged at the foot of the Black Mountain. It was a person who was so thin that he was only skin and bones. He looked too miserable. He was absorbing the divine power of heaven and earth to recover the losses in his body. However, his losses were too great. It would be difficult for him to recover in a few years. Zhu Lianshan was also very excited. He had found the legendary Celestial Mountain. He had been tortured and almost died in the Devil Fog Forbidden Zone. After such a long time, he had only recovered a small part of his strength. The losses were too great. I can feel his aura. He's from the Big Dipper ancestral clan. Su Yan's eyes gradually turned cold. He clenched his fists tightly until he was boiling with anger. Su Yan rushed forward in an instant, wanting to beat him to death. Who is it? Zhu Lianshan was an expert. Even though he was severely injured, he could still feel Su Yan's aura. It's you. Zhu Lianshan's eyes suddenly opened. Chapter 351. Zhu Lianshan laughed heartily. He never thought that the person the ancestral hall had been searching for would fall into his hands. His title made Su Yan's hair fly and his blood boil. A bone-chilling, killing intent surged out. Su Yan's eyes widened as he recalled the bloody scenes. The ancestral hall had always wanted to eliminate the root of the problem, uprooting the bloodline of the Zong region. Whenever they caught a child, they would not show any mercy. However, Su Yan was different. Back then, the old experts of the bloodline of the Zong region had opened a bloody path for him and sent him away. The ancestral hall speculated that Su Yan was the fish that the ancient ancestor had been looking for. The fact that Su Yan could climb out of the immortal mountain had an extraordinary significance. The ancestral hall knew that the burial region bloodline had a progenitor, which was very important. However, since Su Yan had come out, it was very likely that he had immortal jades. Little bastard, you haven't grown up yet, and you dare to release your killing intent towards me. Zhu Lianshan suddenly stood up. He was already a bag of bones, but he still looked as if he was in control of the situation. He looked down at Su Yan and laughed angrily. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You're just a descendant of a group of losers. Wait until I capture you alive. I want to see if those old bastards of the burial region can still sit still. Old bastard, I'll kill you. Su Yan's hair danced in the wind as the furious blood in his body churned. As he descended, he took one step after another, causing the vast, empty space to hum. His entire body became increasingly blurry before he finally disappeared from this world. Kiki. Zhu Lianshan was disdainful. He opened his heavenly eye and looked at the void. The cruel smile on his face only lasted for a moment before it stiffened. Su Yan had disappeared as if he didn't exist. He seemed to have strangely jumped out of this space. Buzz. His pupils began to burn fiercely. They were like two divine lamps, suffused with the light of the great Tao, piercing through space. At this moment, Zhu Lianshan sensed that there were shadows in the space. He couldn't believe it. Su Yan was only at the law phase realm, but he had comprehended the space profound. This was a profound that only the masters of the universe could comprehend. While being shocked, Zhu Lianshan knew that things were not going well. His weakened body was recovering. Although his injuries were serious, how could he deal with Su Yan? Zhu Lianshan didn't think it would be difficult, even though he had the space profound. Boom! However, Su Yan's speed was too fast. He had shrunk the ground into an inch and jumped through space like an angry dragon. He caused the space behind the ancestral Link Mountain to collapse into a huge black hole. Su Yan dashed forward, and his battle prowess soared to the extreme. In the state of one with weapon, Su Yan's battle prowess was even more terrifying. It was as if a great golden star was rushing out. Chua! Su Yan raised his fist and punched. His body shone with golden light. Everything happened too fast. The golden fist was like a condensed sun. It surged with the power to burn mountains and boil seas. In an instant, it hit Zhu Lianshan's back. Pooh! The solar fist exploded with an unstoppable force. The spine of Ancestral Mountain collapsed, and the entire body was about to be crushed by his fist. Bastard! How dare you injure me? Zhu Lianshan staggered. His entire back was about to collapse. His expression was ugly. It was humiliating to be injured by a Law-Phase realm cultivator. Whoa! His bloodstained body surged with the light of the Great Tao. He had cultivated the body of the Great Tao. His body automatically blocked the attack and released the power of the Great Tao. It was as if thousands of mountains were arranged here. It struck back at Su Yan. The power of the Great Tao was enough to destroy any Law-Phase realm prodigy. Even a young Overlord would be destroyed by this attack. In an instant, Su Yan's body and soul were about to be destroyed. However, Su Yan's expression was cold. No matter how the sky collapsed, the earth cracked, and the void collapsed, he was still unafraid. This was because he had grasped the power of space. Even if a terrifying power penetrated the space, it could only injure Su Yan. It couldn't threaten his life. Bastard, I really underestimated you. However, no matter how strong you are, you have to obediently submit to me. Zhu Lianshan waved his palm and struck at Su Yan. This palm was very shocking. It contained the power to destroy space and shake Su Yan out of it. Old bastard, I'm going to destroy you. The words bastard enraged Su Yan. The blood in his body roared, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. A violent aura spread out from his body and evolved into the furnace of the Great Tao. At the moment when the peerless battle body combined, he was like a golden god of war. He surged with a powerful and domineering aura as he attacked. This area was shrouded in killing intent. Although Zhu Lianshan had declined, he was still a cultivator of the Great Tao realm. His weak body spewed out the light of the Great Tao and attacked Su Yan. Kill! Su Yan went berserk. Under the state of earth shrinking, his afterimages were everywhere in the world. He even activated the power of space to suppress the freakish power of the Great Tao. Su Yan's hands formed fist seals. This was his peak battle strength. His left hand formed the solar fist, and his right hand formed the Big Dipper fist. There seemed to be the sun and stars coexisting in his treasured body. At the same time, when he recovered, endless light and a terrifying aura spread out. He tore the sky apart with his bare hands and pierced through the void. If one observed carefully, they would discover that Su Yan's power caused the space to tremble. The vast void trembled, and the divine power between heaven and earth was pushed over by him. He began to attack Zhu Lianshan. Rumble. This was a bloody battle. Su Yan was fighting with his life. At his peak, he was facing a cultivator of the Great Tao realm, a master of the universe. If he was careless, he would be killed. The power of the Great Tao exploded. It wasn't that Zhu Lianshan wasn't strong enough, but that his injuries were too severe. He couldn't display much of his battle strength. Dong! Su Yan was boiling with anger. With the anger to kill Zhu Lianshan, he punched out, causing Zhu Lianshan's arm to crack. He was sent flying. Bastard, you ant! Zhu Lianshan was shocked and furious. He was shocked because Su Yan's body was too abnormal. He was only a Transcendence Realm cultivator, but he had developed a battle constitution. How powerful would he be in the future? His weakened body glowed, and the light of the Great Tao shot out from his mouth. He wanted to drown Su Yan. However, the earth-shrinking technique was too terrifying. It made Su Yan like a tiger that had grown wings. The moment he appeared again, he was like an angry demon lord who was roaring. His solar fist exploded and a golden radiance shot out. It was as if a huge sun was revolving in the sky with him. Puffed. Zhu Lianshan was forced back by the fist aura. He coughed out blood and released an extremely angry, killing intent. He wanted to use his divine power to kill Su Yan. However, his declining body was trembling. His injuries were too severe. Once he used force, it was very likely that he would be exhausted to death. How dare you stop? Zhu Lianshan's eyes were about to split open. Blood came out from the corner of his eyes. This was because Su Yin was standing on top of his head. He lifted his foot and wanted to stomp him to death. Boom! Su Yan's aura devoured the mountains and rivers. He was cold and domineering. He stood in the void with countless strange phenomena behind him. There were all kinds of ferocious beasts, stars, and suns. He was like a demon that suppressed the heaven and earth. His foot came down and stomped on Zhu Lianshan's head. Crack! His head cracked. His entire body was trembling because of De Li's attack. He spat out blood as if he was going to be stomped to death by Su Yin. Ah! Zhu Lianshan screamed. Su Yin was stepping on his head. He was humiliated, and his primordial spirit immediately recovered. It turned into a killing sword and slashed towards Su Yan's primordial spirit. Valspawn, I didn't want to kill you, but you asked for it. Zhu Lianshan was furious. He did not want to use a primordial spirit killer move against Su Yin. After all, Su Yin would die. But he had no choice now. He was being stepped on. You asked for it. Zhu Lianshan was furious. He thought that the outcome was certain and was about to sit down and heal his injuries. The outcome made his hair stand on end. Su Yan's forehead bone was filled with Sanskrit chants. Buddhist light was shining in all directions. There seemed to be a golden deity chanting and preaching the Tao inside. It was filled with a grand aura. Su Yan's primordial spirit stretched out a Buddhist hand that seemed to come from the future. It pressed down and golden light poured down. Ah! Zhu Lianshan screamed in pain. His primordial spirit was about to be purified. He felt this terrifying Buddhist power and cold energy came out of his body. This seemed to be the Sutra of Future. How can this be? How can you know the Sutra of Future? This is a supreme Buddhist secret technique. Zhu Lianshan's eyes turned red. Su Yin was like a treasure that made him furious. He wanted to obtain everything about Su Yin. Bam! Su Yin suppressed his primordial spirit and stomped down with an unstoppable force. Zhu Lianshan's chest was torn apart and blood spurted out. PFFF. Zhu Lianshan coughed out blood. His eyes were filled with malevolence and hatred as he screamed. What are you so proud of? If I wasn't injured, I could crush you with one finger. You. Bam! Su Yan's foot exerted force. He was merciless as he stomped down on Zhu Lianshan. Zhu Lianshan's organs started to crack, and his weakened body was about to explode. Zhu Lianshan was in extreme pain. His face twisted as he screamed. You won't have a good ending even if you kill me. I have killed so many vile spawns like you. Ah! Zhu Lianshan screamed. His entire upper body was crushed by Su Yan's stomp. Su Yin even lifted him up and broke his knees with a kick. Plop! Zhu Lianshan kneeled down and let out a mournful cry. This humiliation was even worse than death. You want me to kneel down and atone for my sins? Zhu Lianshan said, You can't escape. The Ancestral Hall has its eyes on you. You will pay with your life, even if you run to the hell. You think you're worthy? Su Yin held a blood-colored halberd and landed on his shoulder. You! Zhu Lianshan's eyes had a trace of fear. He was still young and stood at the peak of his life. He would have endless achievements in the future. If he died, there would be nothing left. Whoosh! A head flew into the sky. Zhu Lianshan's primordial spirit screamed in despair as his head was cut off by Su Yin. You won't have a good ending. The Ancestral Hall won't let you go. Just you wait. You will live in fear in the future. The Ancestral Hall will soon know that you are still alive. How could Zhu Lianshan accept dying in the hands of a Transcendence Realm cultivator that he saw as an ant? He knew that Su Yin wouldn't let him go. Bam! Chapter 352. Alas, Zhu Lianshan has fallen. He lasted for a long time. I wonder what he went through. Lianshan, he was still young and in his prime. His future achievements would be extraordinary, and there was hope for him to take another step forward. Who would have thought that he would fall in the Big Dipper? This is a great loss to our race. It seems like there is no hope. The Devil Mist is full of unknowns. We can't take this risk anymore. I think we should wait for the ancient ancestor to come out and see what he wants. In a certain courtyard on Alcade Planet, primordial chaos filled the air. Terrifying figures sat cross-legged in the primordial chaos. Their words caused the space to tremble. Their auras were too powerful. They were the high elders of the ancestral hall. The experts they sent to the demonic mist died one after another. Now, Zhu Lianshan's soul lamp was extinguished as well. This meant that Zhu Lianshan was dead. High elders, do you know Su Yan's background? Zhu Jingtian didn't understand why the ancestral hall would pay such a great price to capture a young cultivator. No idea. The big shots sitting in the primordial chaos replied, very few in our race know. The ancient ancestor said that he would rather capture the wrong person than let him go. He once massacred many ancient planets just to capture someone from our race. Is he the one the ancient ancestor was looking for? It's not certain. Unfortunately, he is already dead, alas. Zhu Jingtian was shocked that the ancestral hall had to pay such a great price for an unknown factor. What was it about? Right, Zhu Liang, I remember that you were in charge of capturing those bastards for more than 100 years ago. How many have escaped? Someone asked. A powerful figure wearing a golden robe appeared. His eyes were burning with golden flames as he coldly said, not more than 5. They won't be able to live for long. Humph, the burial realm bloodline has reached its end. There is no hope for them to rise again. If it wasn't for those old bastards hiding for more than 100 years, they would have been wiped out long ago. I remember that our race opened a formation to cross starfields several years ago. Why is there no news after so long? The mother formation hasn't been opened either. Zhu Liang coldly said, we've run into some trouble. Some of the knights we sent over have fallen. However, one of our clan's experts is still alive. I reckon that they've run into some thorny problems. I don't know when they'll be able to return. Some of the mighty ones in the Chaos Space side. They no longer held any hope for the heavenly coffin. Now that Su Yin had also died in the Devil Fog, they immediately wanted to retreat. The Big Dipper constellation was no longer worth their time. In the silent, demonic fog, the ancestral Link Mountain had already turned into ashes. Su Yin retrieved the treasures and was greatly disappointed. Many of the treasures had exhausted their divine power, and they were all usable items. It had to be said that the demonic fog was so ferocious that it could even devour the life force of a great Dao realm expert. He recuperated and slowly recovered to his peak state. Time to go. Su Yan's eyes fell on the area covered by rolling black clouds. The area covered by the devil fog was too large, and it was easy to get lost here. Su Yan had made ample preparations. He had grasped a vast amount of Big Dipper ancestral vein god essence. Even if he was lost inside, he could hold on for a very long time. He rushed in, his figure disappearing into the black fog. I have to be fast. Su Yan didn't dare to be careless. He sprinted forward rapidly, and the god power in his body was constantly being depleted. With every step he took, his god power would be greatly depleted. There were even sinister devil fog that tunneled into his corporeal body. As Su Yin ran, it was as if he had transformed into an immortal phoenix, wanting to spread his wings and soar. In his treasured body, the secret technique recorded in the mysterious bone books circulated. This secret technique sees the good fortune of heaven and earth. Even if one was on the verge of death, it could pull them back from the gates of hell. As the mysterious secret technique circulated, Su Yan's corporeal body rumbled. The Big Dipper ancestral vein god essence hidden in his corporeal body transformed into a thick source of energy that ran through his limbs and bones, replenishing the damage of his body. It could even expel the devil fog during the process. One had to admit that this secret technique was astonishingly powerful. After circulating for a while, Su Yin frowned slightly. The broken cauldron suspended in his body flew out, scattering a clear radiance. Even the devil fog couldn't block its light. Wong. Su Yin struck out with the mysterious bone book's secret technique. At this moment, the broken cauldron rumbled. Strands of clear radiance fell down like immortal splendor, wrapping around Su Yin. Su Yin was flabbergasted. This was because the broken cauldron's scattered divine radiance isolated the devil fog. Even the ancestral hall was helpless against this substance, but the broken cauldron could actually block the devil fog. Could it be that it was even more terrifying than an immortal weapon fragment? The remnant of the Cosmos Business Alliance. Just what kind of secret technique is this? Why can it move the broken cauldron? Su Yin was bewildered. He was pleasantly surprised. Like this, he could freely move through the devil fog without being disturbed. However, when the broken cauldron shined, it also consumed a great deal of energy. Su Yin took out batch after batch of precious ores and turned them into a source of energy, allowing the broken cauldron to continue recovering. The heavens are helping me. Like this, Su Yin ran without the slightest scruple. He ran all the way to the periphery of the devil fog. After running for half a day, his eyes could barely see the scenery. Su Yin stopped and moved forward slowly, afraid that he would be noticed. After all, the broken cauldron's appearance was too extraordinary. It could even isolate the devil fog. One had to know that even the ancestral hall was helpless against the devil fog and could only send powerhouses to barge in. From this, one could see how powerful the broken cauldron was. When he was about to leave this area, Su Yin put away the broken cauldron. The devil fog here was relatively less, and he could even travel through the void. To ensure that nothing would go wrong, he escaped into space and left the devil fog area. The scene outside shocked him. There were large cracks in a radius of 100,000 miles, and it was a scene of devastation. Even now, there were remnants of various destructive auras. Now, this was a forbidden area, and no one dared to approach. Su Yin rushed out. When he arrived at the Big Dipper, he tried his best to suppress his aura and become one with the space. This was because Su Yin discovered that many areas were permeated with powerful waves of the Great Tao. Without a doubt, there were powerhouses in seclusion here, and there were many universe masters. How are Bao Kai and the others? The Ancestral Hall is after me, so they shouldn't be wasting their energy to deal with Bao Kai and the others. Su Yin wanted to get to the bottom of this matter the most. He rushed out and didn't encounter any danger. No one would believe that someone who had been trapped in the devil fog for half a year could come out alive. Soon, Su Yin met some cultivators who were passing by, and they chatted happily. Looks like the Big Dipper has calmed down and become a place of enlightenment. Su Yin slowly let down his guard, escaped into an uninhabited area, and changed his appearance. With his current cultivation and control of space, it would be difficult for ordinary Great Tao Realm cultivators to see through his appearance. Just like that, Su Yin left the Big Dipper and rushed outside. I'm out. Su Yin looked back with a complicated expression. He had stayed in the Big Dipper for a long time and still remembered that when he had just entered, he was still a small Tao Realm cultivator. Now, even if he were to face a quasi-Tao Realm cultivator, he wouldn't be afraid. Su Yin didn't go to Brilliant City. Instead, he went in the direction of Zhang Village. Everything in the village was normal. There were no wars or disturbances. The elderly and children lived carefree lives, and the village was filled with warmth. Su Yin didn't alarm the blacksmith and the others and went directly to the village chief's house. Child, it's you. Village Chief Zhang saw Su Yin walking in and was slightly stunned. Su Yin changed his appearance, walked up, and said, Grandpa Zhang, it's me. Village Chief Zhang was overjoyed when he heard that. He went up and said with a smile, It's good that you're fine. Come in quickly. How long have you been out? Grandpa Zhang, I just came out. Su Yin walked in and said, Did anything happen in the village during this time? No, everything is normal. Who would target a small village like ours? Village Chief Zhang's old face burst into a smile. He took out some food to entertain Su Yin and didn't ask what kind of danger Su Yin encountered. This scene reminded him of the old Tibetan and even E.C. Yin. He wondered how E.C. Yin was doing in Crepe Myrtle's sect. Did Bao Kai and the others come? Su Yin asked again. Hearing this, village head Zhang smiled and said, He came here a while ago with the younger generation of our village. It's been 3 months since then. Young man? Su Yin was astonished. After carefully asking, he widened his eyes and said, So the young village chief of the Zhang family village is a sovereign. I really didn't expect him to be the young village chief of the Zhang family village. Haha, that's not it. He's not the young village chief. That's his elder brother. Village Chief Zhang's words stunned Su Yan. He took a deep breath, and his heart was filled with disbelief. Two sovereigns in one family. Did he come from a small village? What kind of heaven-defying bloodline inheritance was this? Could it be that the Zhang village of ancient times was a supreme sect? At this point, Village Chief Zhang sighed and said, "He hasn't returned home for many years. I don't know what he experienced outside. It probably wasn't that easy, otherwise he would have returned home long ago." Su Yan really didn't know what to say. If this matter was publicized, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. Don't worry about them. They didn't encounter too much danger. Village Chief Zhang said, but they said they wanted to leave. They said it was no longer safe here. Bao Kai and the others were afraid of implicating our village, so they left overnight. It's good that they left. I'm also preparing to leave. Su Yan also didn't plan to stay in the Big Dipper starfield. He looked at the sky and clenched his fists. He wanted to find his family, Grandpa Dalong, and some of his childhood playmates. He didn't know how they were doing now. I want to go home too. Su Yan took a deep breath and said to himself, I'll go to the Cosmos Business Alliance. I'll go find Zi Xioning. After all, I found a mysterious bone book. Zi Xioning also promised me that she could help me do something. With the power of the Cosmos Business Alliance, they should be able to help me. He originally wanted to find Bamboo Moon. With Bamboo Moon's ability, she would definitely be able to help him. However, he felt that this matter was too big. After all, it was related to the top forces in the universe, Ancestral Hall and the Umber Branch. As for Bamboo Moon, she was the Star Lord of the Big Dipper Branch. He didn't want to trouble Bamboo Moon for fear of bringing disaster to the Big Dipper Branch. Grandpa Zhang, I'm leaving. I won't stay any longer. Take care of yourself. I'll come to see you again when I have time. Su Yan only stayed there for a while before he disappeared from the Zhang village. He didn't disturb the other villagers. The sky is high. As long as one is willing to work hard, there will be a day when the wind and rain turn into a dragon. Chapter 353. Su Yan didn't return to Alcade City immediately. Instead, he traveled all the way to a bustling ancient city. Using the teleportation formation here, he arrived at Mizar Star. This ancient star was filled with the essence of the fire path, which made it extremely suitable for cultivating the fire path. Even the air was filled with vigorous fire energy. After all, it was a supreme ancient star. Mizar City, in particular, was bustling with people. So many things. Are you going to sell them all? In a large shop, the maid who served Su Yan was startled. Su Yan had taken out so many good things that they piled up. Of course, this was only a small part of them. His harvest on the Big Dipper was so great that the space of the Phoenix hairpin was full. The little maid happily took out the treasures of their shop, which were precious divine materials. Su Yan bought all of them. In just a few hours, Su Yan had sold a large number of good things in the biggest shops in Mizar City in exchange for some divine materials. In the next 10 days, he even left his footprints in the most bustling ancient cities of the 7 supreme ancient stars in the Big Dipper Star Zone. Su Yan had sold all the things he didn't need. 14,000 kilograms of celestial essence stones and so many divine materials. I've gathered all the materials I need to activate the 9 Extreme formation. This is a super killing formation that can kill a universe overlord. With this formation protecting me, I can even venture into a dragon's lair or a tiger's den. Su Yan returned to Brilliant City and rented a shop. Then, he swept through the various shops in Brilliant City and spent nearly 4,000 kilograms of heavenly essence stones to purchase a batch of divine materials. Now that I've comprehended the power of space, my grasp of the terrain has improved by a level. I reckon I'll be able to cultivate up to the 5th grade Mystic Realm. With the unique ability of the Earth Overturning Seal and my own combat strength, Quasi-Dao Realm cultivators won't be able to threaten my life. Of course, the most important thing was the 9 Extreme formation, a super killing formation that could kill a universe overlord. It was the most precious treasure of the Shuef family. Su Yan didn't immediately go to the Cosmos Business Alliance to find Zi Xioning. Even if he could leave the Big Dipper Star Zone and look for his family, he wasn't strong enough to take risks in the universe. Cultivate the Origin Brush. Su Yin spent a lot of money. He had limited celestial essence stones left, but Su Yin had a huge amount of essence from the Big Dipper ancestral vein, so he didn't need celestial essence stones for the time being. He was going to use all the means to increase his strength. After a day and night, the origin brush to the 5th grade. However, the origin brush's evolution this time was no small matter. After all, it was already a 5th grade origin brush. It was like a giant golden brush that could move heaven and earth. It was filled with an aura that could cut through the void. It could erupt with a powerful ability to control the terrain and evolve into a great offensive technique. However, the price was too great. It consumed 2,500 kilograms of celestial essence stones. He estimated that the next evolution of the origin brush wouldn't be enough. Su Yin realized that the origin brush was going to give birth to a great Tao. It had to be said that the origin brush was a great help to Qi Men. Su Yin also made use of the origin brush's evolution process to touch on a more magnificent method of controlling the terrain. At the same time, he observed the inheritance in the black ore and carefully comprehended it. Moreover, it was refined with divine materials and inscribed with various killing formations. Refining killing formations with divine materials? Its offensive power was naturally extraordinary. Su Yin had spent so much money on it, so it definitely wasn't just a few killing formations. It had been a month since Su Yin left the Big Dipper. The primordial spirit domain is no small matter. The speed at which I refine killing formations is much faster than before. Moreover, with the help of the 5th grade origin brush, I was able to refine 10 killing formations in a short 10 days. In the past, it would have taken me a month to refine one. Set after set of exquisite formation discs were placed in the quiet room. They flowed with brilliant lights and scattered with divine essence. Su Yin had already become a formation Dao grandmaster. In the field of formation Dao, he was able to compete with the older generation. Now that he had refined 10 sets of great killing arrays, they were naturally no small matter. They would be of great help to Su Yin at critical moments. He pondered for a while, then withdrew all the killing formations. Su Yin pushed open the door and walked out. He raised his head to look at the sky before his eyes fell on his surroundings. He stretched his hand forward. At this moment, he felt as if he was grabbing onto heaven and earth, as if the entire world was in his hands. Buzz! Su Yin's hand glowed. He felt that he had cultivated to the 5th grade realm. He could control the terrain of a large area with a raise of his hand. With the earth overturning seal, it was as if the entire territory had fallen into Su Yan's hands. Su Yan's palm seemed to be holding up a majestic mountain, causing the universe to tremble. Su Yan's palm seemed to be holding up a huge mountain. Su Yin carefully sensed and deduced the earth overturning seal. In the end, he came to a conclusion. If it was in a special terrain, or even in a place with abundant dragon Qi, the earth overturning seal would definitely be a great offensive technique. Its combat power would be extraordinary and shocking. The divine power in his palm dissipated, and the gathered divine power automatically flowed backward. He was just testing the waters earlier. If it was fully recovered, the abundant leyline Qi in this area would be completely extracted. If I cultivate to the 6th grade realm, I can easily control the power of a region. I'm afraid I'll be able to suppress the strong. If I cultivate to the 7th grade realm, I'll be able to control the momentum of heaven and earth and preach Tao in the starry sky. That'll be shocking. It's a pity that this inheritance is incomplete. There's only the way to control the terrain and not the way to control the momentum of heaven. However, even if I can comprehend it to the extreme, I'll be able to erupt with super powerful might and control the Big Dipper ancestral vein. Su Yin pondered in his heart. He then left the quiet room and walked toward the Cosmos Business Alliance. Everything in Brilliant City was as usual. After all, half a year had passed since the Big Dipper's chaos. Many Yingjia cultivators were silent in their comprehension of Tao, not paying attention to worldly affairs. Only those who had comprehended the great Tao could be considered strong. Only then would they be able to look down on the heavens and step into the universe. Their lifespan would also increase explosively. Those who didn't comprehend the great Tao were ants. This wasn't an empty statement. Before a true great Tao realm cultivator, billions of lives would pale in comparison. Any prodigy could only serve as a foil. When he was about to reach the Cosmos Business Alliance, Su Yan's expression changed slightly. Haha, Tao friend is right. Loud laughter rang out from the entrance of the Cosmos Business Alliance, causing those who passed by to look sideways. Han Jin seemed to have become a few years younger. His face was rosy, and he was full of energy. Old brother Han Jin, you must put in a few good words for our race's champion. Shui Jingtian's figure was tall, and he was imposing without being angry. He had become a mighty lord who could summon wind and rain in the Big Dipper Star region in a single leap. He had even become the leader of the Shui family. He was naturally very proud of himself. He laughed loudly and said, "If this matter succeeds, I'll definitely give you a generous gift." Tao friend is too polite. Shuiguan is a dragon among men. I'm willing to help him, Han Jin said nonchalantly. Their voices were very loud, causing the cultivators who passed by to feel apprehensive. Someone said in a low voice, I didn't expect Han Jin and the Shui family's relationship to be getting closer and closer. Han Jin even denies that Su Yan is a disciple of the Big Dipper ancestral vein. If he really denies it, then there won't be any conflict between them. Could it be that time will return to the past, and Shuiguan will continue to pursue the Big Dipper fairy? Who knows? Haha, only the future will know. After all, this concerns the Big Dipper sovereign. Who dares to jump to conclusions? The discussions of the passers-by entered Su Yan's ears. He looked at Han Jin and clenched his fist slightly. This old thing had made things difficult for him many times. He had always seen Su Yan as a thorn in his side. He reckoned that Han Jin's fall had made him very happy. He had even heard a lot of news about the Shui family along the way. Many factions, including those in the nearby star regions, were prepared to make a shocking bet. They had taken out rare resources and gifted them to Shuiguan. What was this for? They were betting that he would become the Big Dipper sovereign in the future. They were betting that he could rise up and become the overlord of the Big Dipper star region. Some factions felt that Shuiguan no longer had any enemies. He had been able to withstand hundreds of moves from Shuiguan at the Quasi-Dao realm. It could be seen how heaven-defying and peerless he would be once he comprehended the great Tao in the future. The situation in the Big Dipper star region was very clear. Shuiguan was the leader of the younger generation. This is Lord Zi Xioning's keepsake. Su Yan arrived at the Cosmos Business Alliance. He took out a keepsake and handed it to the maidservant who served him. The maidservant was shocked. Young master, please follow me. He had been to the Cosmos Business Alliance once before. However, the maidservant led him to a place that was obviously not Zi Xioning's residence. Su Yan frowned. Is Zi Xioning not in the Cosmos Business Alliance? Young master, Lord Zi Xioning is not here. However, he left a message for Miss Yin Bingjin to receive all those who come with his keepsake. Su Yan frowned slightly. Without much hesitation, he nodded and followed. He did not want to waste any more time. He wanted to find out everything he wanted to know as soon as possible. Soon, Su Yan arrived upstairs. The maidservant led him to a room where he saw an outstanding and noble woman. She wore a jade green dress and looked at Su Yan in surprise. You can leave first. Yin Bingjin obviously had some power. The maidservant left obediently. She looked at Su Yan and asked Su Yan why he was here. When will Zi Xioning return? Su Yan asked her. He did not want to say much. The incident with Zi Lulan made him wary of the Cosmos Business Alliance. Hearing this, Yin Bingjin smiled confidently and said, If you need anything, you can ask me. Miss Xioning still needs some time before she can return to the Cosmos Business Alliance. Then I'll come back when she's back. Su Yan said, Sorry to bother you. I have to leave first. This scene stunned Yin Bingjin. Her eyes flashed with a strange light. She asked, May I ask if your surname is Su? Hearing this, Su Yan walked as usual. He was almost at the door when he said, Why do you ask? Miss Xioning said that if your surname is Su, you can stay in the Cosmos Business Alliance. I'll inform Miss Xioning immediately. Yin Bingjin walked up and said quickly, Otherwise, We don't know when she'll return. She might not even come to the Big Dipper starfield again. What do you mean? Su Yin asked. I don't know the details. Yin Bingjin shook her head and said, but Miss Xioning said that if someone surnamed Su came to the Cosmos Business Alliance to look for her, I should go back and inform her immediately. Also, I can use the interdomain transfer formation. Looks like Z Xioning has returned to her family. Su Yin thought for a while and said, how long will it take? Hearing this, Yin Bingjin was delighted. She said quickly, not too long. It'll take about 10 days. Okay, I'll come back in 10 days. Chapter 354. In the blink of an eye, 7 to 8 days passed. Su Yin often went out to scout for information. Shueguan seemed to have disappeared from the Big Dipper Star region. This made Su Yin suspicious. After all, his cultivation had reached the quasi-Dao realm. Why would he go to the Big Dipper Star region to comprehend Dao? Dao comprehension Holy Land? It was too rare. If one didn't have an excellent Dao field, comprehending Dao in the Big Dipper Star region would be the best choice. It was rumored that there were some famous mountains, ancient Dao fields, and these Dao comprehension holy lands. The chances of comprehending great Dao were very high. However, it was a pity that they were all in the hands of the various peak forces and ancient families. How could they allow outsiders to enter such resources? However, Shueguan still didn't show up. Su Yin pondered and thought to himself, Shueguan received the inheritance of a major power after all. That is the strongest mystical power in history, the initial fist. Could it be that Shueguan has gone to the Ziwei Star region now? He felt that the initial fist was closely related to the initial sutra. Su Yin naturally wanted to obtain this mystical power. However, the Ziwei Star region was so big. Where could he find Shueguan? Miser said that he knows the whereabouts of the initial fist. Is it true? Su Yin said softly in his heart, after I deal with the mysterious bone book, I'll take a look and see which star region I'm heading to next. The universe was too vast and boundless. One star region after another, endless. Of course, there was still a limit to the strongest ancient life stars. The 10 strongest ancient life stars were all very far away from the Big Dipper Star region. One had to use interstar teleportation formations to successfully cross over. Even great Dao realm cultivators would find it difficult to cross the universe for a long time. After all, the consumption was too great. And a hint of surprise flashed in Su Yan's eyes. The dragon totem had quietly awakened, releasing a scorching heat that burned Su Yin until he grimaced in pain. His sleeves were also shattered. Golden lights scattered, dazzling and dazzling. It was as if a golden sun was burning. The dragon totem shone brilliantly. When Su Yin probed with his primordial spirit, it was as if he had barged into a vast true dragon's nest. A dragon's roar that could shatter the starry sky exploded, causing Su Yan's of his primordial spirit. How terrifying! Su Yan's eyes were overflowing with joy. The transformation of a dragon totem was too astonishing. It was like a heavenly dragon of the great Tao. It was dazzling and filled with an imposing aura. It was as if it could pierce through a corner of the universe and release an endless dragon's might. The commotion only lasted for a short while before it slowly subsided. But the dragon totem that appeared once more was filled with profound fluctuations. It was like a mark of the true dragon Great Tao, branded onto Su Yan's arm. It evolved. Su Yan laughed heartily as the secret technique evolved from the dragon totem evolved once again. The aura of the Great Path surged like an abyss, as if it was a complicated dragon diagram of the Great Path. He opened his eyes and studied it carefully. The dragon totem's evolution this time was quite astonishing. It had changed greatly from its original form. It was filled with the aura of the true dragon bloodline. Even Su Yin was intoxicated by it as he looked at it. He was intoxicated by a world filled with a source of power. Buzz, the pearl of the Great Path floating in his sea of consciousness, shone and scattered down the light of the Great Path. It illuminated Su Yan's body, setting him off like a golden god. It was as if Su Yin had experienced a strange journey. This was a world of gods and demons that was filled with power. It was terrifying to the extreme. True dragons appeared one after another, and they had boundless strength. They could easily toss the stars of the universe. They were like a group of gods and demons. Their power was unprecedented and released strand after strand. Even the universe couldn't conceal their aura. Even the universe trembled along with them. He comprehended a kind of power that could destroy heaven and earth, pluck the stars, and capture the moon. Suyin was comprehending this kind of power. His entire body shone, and his divine treasures awakened. He wanted to soar into the sky with the true dragons. However, this was very difficult. Suyan's foundation wasn't enough. The world he saw was like a world where power reigned supreme. They evolved their strength to the extreme and transformed it into the great path. They formed their own lineage and looked down on the starry sky. Although Suyan's strength was abundant and his strength was great, there was still a big gap between him and this step. It was like a chasm that was very difficult to cross. After an unknown amount of time, Suyin gradually woke up. He had gained a lot. Although he didn't cultivate the evolved version of the divine ability, he saw a unique domain that belonged to the lineage of body cultivators. Once one enters the great Tao realm, they will condense a great Tao body. However, the divine treasures of the physical body are also worth excavating. Suyin stood up. He estimated that he had comprehended for at least 5 to 6 days just now. It had already been a few days since the appointed time with Yin Bingjin. He quickly left this place and headed toward the Cosmos Business Alliance. However, he didn't expect that he had just entered the Cosmos Business Alliance when Yin Bingjin had already come to welcome him. Her appearance was outstanding and could be considered a beauty. She smiled and said, "You're finally here. I've been waiting for you here for a few days. I thought you weren't going to come." Hearing this, Suyin said apologetically, "Sorry, I was delayed by something." "Zi Xioning is here, right?" Yin Bingjin nodded and waved her hand. She smiled and said, "Young Master Su, follow me." Miss Xioning has already returned to the Cosmos Business Alliance. She was waiting anxiously for you. I don't know why Miss Xioning is looking for you. It's good that she's here. Suyin heaved a sigh of relief. Naturally, he was also waiting anxiously. He was anxious to borrow Zi Xioning's intelligence network to understand some things. He followed Yin Bingjin all the way to the second floor. Their destination was Zi Xioning's residence that Su Yin was familiar with. Yin Bingjin chatted and laughed along the way. When she was about to push open the door, she smiled and said, "Young Master Su, Miss Xioning has suffered a lot in her family. I guess her attitude isn't too good. Please forgive her. She won't suffer any more after seeing me." Su Yin didn't know what was recorded in the mysterious bone book, but it was very important. Zi Xioning bringing it back to her family was definitely a great merit. Creak. The red sandalwood door opened. Su Yin stepped in and came to Zi Xioning's residence again. Su Yin frowned slightly. He had cultivated to the 5th rank and had a strong insight into the general trend of heaven and earth. He could be sure that there was a great formation here. Su Yin even had a certain grasp of the profound meaning of space. He sensed it carefully and immediately found that the great formation here was not ordinary. Su Yin was a little vigilant, but he didn't think much of it. After all, he was only a little cultivator when he came here. "You are?" A fragrant wind blew. It was a beautiful woman in white walking toward Su Yin. She walked gracefully. Her snow-white skin was full and translucent. Her black hair fell to her willowy waist. Her limpid eyes looked at Su Yin and were slightly stunned. "Miss Xioning." Su Yin's eyes looked at her. When he saw her dressing, which was different from her usual flirtatious appearance, he muttered in his heart. Zi Xiao was an alluring woman who could charm people to death. Her stifled laughter was enchanting. She was gorgeous and very seductive. "You are Su Yin?" Zi Xioning smiled and said, "I really don't dare to look down on you now. Your disguise technique is so profound that even I can't see through it. Come sit." Yin Bingjin enthusiastically poured tea and invited Su Yin to sit. Su Yin's expression didn't change. He said in a low voice, "Miss Xioning, did you forget that you said it yourself?" Zi Xioning's expression didn't change. There have been a lot of things happening in the clan in recent years. Plus, I was harmed greatly by you. You almost lost your life, and my clan's treasure was almost lost. You caused me to be scolded by the ancestor. Su Yan's expression darkened. He said, Miss Xioning, let's talk about the thing you promised me back then. Don't forget to fulfill your promise. Of course I will. Zi Xioning sat down and gently rubbed her temples with her jade-like fingers. She smiled and said, Actually, I'm really curious about what the family's treasure is. I can't help it. The family's secretive work on this item is too thorough. I don't care what the treasure is. Su Yan's heart sank. He calmed down and said, Go find Su Yan and take it. I'll take the treasure you promised back then, and we'll have fulfilled our promise. You're not Su Yan? Zi Xioning's expression changed slightly. She squinted her eyes and stared at him. This is your real body. What? Didn't you make a deal with Su Yan back then? Su Yan was very surprised. He asked me to help him take away 3 divine artifacts. He said that as long as I take away the divine artifacts, your clan's treasure will be delivered tomorrow. There's a deal after the reward? Yan Bingzhen's jade-like hands trembled slightly. She couldn't help but say, Where's Su Yan now? How can there be such a deal? I don't care about that. I'm only responsible for taking the things. Su Yan's heart turned cold. This Zi Xioning was fake. Then where was the real Zi Xioning? Who was this fake Zi Xioning? 3 divine artifacts. The fake Zi Xioning sat on a chair and tapped her fingers on the table. If Zi Xioning had really promised 3 divine artifacts, she wouldn't have been surprised. The Cosmos Business Alliance could still afford it. But to ask her to hand over the reward first? That was simply impossible. That's right. If you're not ready, I'll come back tomorrow. Su Yan stood up and pretended to leave. This scene made the fake Zi Xioning's expression extremely ugly. She was really worried that the cooked duck would fly away just like that. But if something happened to the messenger, would Su Yan be able to take the bait? Little friend, you're really sensitive. You're so young, but you're so shrewd. I admire you. A mocking voice rang out, and a layer of terrifying light covered the entire residence. The hibernating killing formation lit up, sealing the entire residence. Su Yan slowly clenched his fists tightly as he stared at a great Dao realm expert who had appeared. Although she looked old, her aura was simply too powerful. She was looking down at Su Yan and let out a cold bellow. But you won't be able to hide from me. You aren't strong enough. Su Yan kept his composure and glanced at the fake Zi Xioning. Her appearance had changed, turning into Zi Lulan. This made Su Yan's heart burn with fury. He had been schemed against. Zi Lulan was looking at Su Yan with a cold gaze. She said angrily, You're really Su Yan. You don't know how to appreciate my kindness. Why couldn't you have just left after the deal was done? Now, you're forcing me to start a massacre. What a joke. If I really took out what you wanted, would you have let me leave so easily? Su Yan's expression was cold. His eyes then landed on Yan Bingzhen, and he said furiously, You're a fake too? Why didn't you make a move directly back then? Why did you have to wait until now? Ha ha! Zi Lulan laughed loudly, feeling very proud. She boasted, It's a pity that half a month ago, she wasn't one of my people. It's just that she's now my subordinate. Yan Bingzhen's expression didn't change. She smiled and said, I'm sorry, Su Yan. Miss Zi Xioning has indirectly committed a great crime because of the lost treasure. The old ancestor no longer trusts her. A fine bird chooses a tree to nest in. Don't tell me you don't understand this? Shameless. Su Yan replied coldly. He wasn't afraid. With the 9 extremes formation and the dragon totem, he could even kill a great Dao realm expert. Everyone has the right to choose. Zi Lulan looked as if victory was already in her hands. She smiled and said, What future can she have if she follows Zi Xioning? I've already promised her the position of the chief manager of the Big Dipper Star Region branch in advance. In the future, Yan Bingzhen will be an important figure in the Big Dipper Star Region's Commerce Alliance. Chapter 355. Die an easy death? Zi Lulan laughed in her heart. She was prepared to capture Su Yan and hand him over to the Ancestral Hall. After all, the Ancestral Hall was eager to capture Su Yan. If she could hand Su Yan over to the Ancestral Hall, she would definitely be able to form a relationship with the Ancestral Hall's experts. Zilulan was so excited that her blood was trembling. With the support of the Ancestral Hall and her close relationship with the Ancestral Hall, she felt that it wouldn't take long for her to become the general manager of the 100-star domains. She might even be able to enter the universe's richest list in the future. Zilulan's ambition was huge. Otherwise, she wouldn't have paid so much attention to Xioning. Coincidentally, she met Yin Bingjin, who came to inform her. Using both kindness and kindness, she subdued Yin Bingjin. After all, Xioning's situation wasn't good because the inheritance was of great importance. When Su Yin fell into the Devil Fog Forbidden Zone, Zilulan immediately reported the news. This angered the Ancestral Hall, and they took their anger out on Xioning. After all, if the Ancestral Hall couldn't open the Forbidden Zone, they probably couldn't either. Ha ha ha. Su Yin looked at their faces and laughed. Did you really think that I wasn't prepared at all? Zilulan, I really have to thank you. If not for you, I wouldn't have been so careful. What do you mean? Zilulan, who was still daydreaming, said with a gloomy face. Do you still think you can escape? Su Yin, you are indeed strong. You can even kill the young Overlord of the Big Dipper Star Domain, Kang Yuan. You can even crawl out of the Devil Ghost Forbidden Zone alive. Haha, but you're now in my hands. What chance do you have to resist? Ridiculous. The inheritance is of great importance. Did you really think that I would have it on me? Su Yan's words made Zilulan's face change. The inheritance of the Ancestral Hall was very special. Ordinary spatial treasures couldn't seal its fluctuations. And Su Yin obviously didn't have any trace of the Ancestral Hall's inheritance. What do you mean? Yin Bingjin suggested. Just suppress her directly. Can she be so stubborn that she can withstand the torture? Su Yin glared angrily at Yin Bingjin. This woman was too ruthless. In order to climb up the social ladder, she was willing to pay any price. She betrayed him just like that. He secretly scolded Xioning for raising such an ingrate. Su Yin, don't hold a grudge against me. I have my own choices. Yin Bingjin smiled charmingly and said, You have your own choice, young Overlord of the Big Dipper Starfield. To be honest, the gap between you and me is too big. However, you are not my prisoner yet. Su Yin, surrender. Zilulan took a big step forward. She was a descendant of the Z clan and had been cultivating for hundreds of years. When her aura gushed out, her aura was completely different. There was a terrifying light of the great Tao surging. Back then, you humiliated me on Big Dipper. Now it's my turn. Zilulan walked over confidently. You're just a Transcendence Realm cultivator. Back then, you dared to be disrespectful to me. Now, I'll let you know how powerful I am. Buzz. The killing formation covered the entire residence. The aura of the great Tao filled the air. Zilulan reached out a palm and slapped towards Su Yin. After all, she was a quasi-Tao realm cultivator. The light of the great Tao circling around her palm could easily suppress a Transcendence Realm cultivator. Zilulan slapped him. She had to vent her anger first. Her palm was getting closer and closer to Su Yin. The light of the great Tao pierced Su Yan's face. He did not move at all. Yin Bingjin could not help but nod at this scene. At least you know how to appreciate favors. Fighting with Miss Zilulan at this time is indeed a foolish thing to do. Before she could finish her words, her expression changed drastically. This was because Su Yin, who had been silent all this time, suddenly erupted. His aura was completely different. It was as if a demon god was hissing here. His entire precious body erupted with a terrifying aura that overflowed into the heavens. It shattered the void, as if an angry dragon was awakening here. Oh no! The old woman, who was holding the line, was shocked. She wanted to suppress Su Yin, but Su Yin exploded too suddenly. He was like a true dragon soaring into the sky. He was wearing the astral battle armor, and his combat power soared to the limit. He exploded with a terrifying punch. Boom! This punch was so powerful that Zilulan's entire palm caved in. She did not even have time to cry out in pain before her neck was grabbed by Su Yan's hand. Ah! Zilulan screamed in panic. Her eyes were filled with fear. She was a quasi-Dao realm cultivator, but Su Yin had captured her alive. How could she endure this? Stop! Yin Bingjin was terrified. Su Yin, you're too daring. What are you trying to do? Don't forget your situation. If you hurt Miss Zilulan, you won't have a good ending. Yin Bingjin's heart was also trembling. How many years had Su Yin cultivated? She could actually deal with a quasi-Dao realm cultivator now. Only half a year had passed. She still could not believe that this person was Su Yin, a small cultivator from back then. Seclusion in the space of Heaven Mountain was not just for a few months. Su Yin used this precious time to perfect his Dao techniques and increase his combat power. He really did not care about ordinary quasi-Dao realm cultivators. B*TCH. Su Yin stared at her coldly and laughed angrily. I really don't want to kill her. I don't want to dirty my hands. B***starred. Elder, kill him. Zilulan gritted her teeth and growled. She did not believe that Su Yin could block the attacks of a great Dao realm expert. Old thing, I know you're quite strong. But if you dare to move, I'll crush your throat right now. Su Yin exuded an iron-blooded killing aura. His eyes were like swords, and his cold voice made the old woman who controlled the great killing array look terrible. She was wearing a long silver robe and was Zilulan's Z-clan elder. Zi Xuanzu was still relatively calm. She said, Su Yin, do you know what you're doing? Now you're threatening me. Do you know what kind of power our Z-clan is? Who are you to threaten and capture our Z-clan's legacy disciple? I think you really don't know your place. Activate the great killing array immediately. Su Yin shouted, stop talking nonsense. I'm an impatient person. I've killed many disciples of big powers. Now there's one less. How dare you? Zi Xuanzu's face was gloomy. Her eyes were fixed on Su Yin. She exerted force in her palms, under her sleeves, and layers of great Dao aura surged down, pressing down on Su Yin. The aura came too suddenly, and Zilulan looked like she was about to be crushed. However, just as Zi Xuanzu's power was about to touch Su Yin, the space strangely blurred. Su Yin pulled Zilulan and disappeared. Profound meaning of space. Zi Xuanzu's face changed drastically. She was shocked. This was the profound meaning of space. Even a great Dao realm cultivator would find it difficult to comprehend this profound meaning. However, Su Yin was only a transcendence realm cultivator, and he had actually comprehended the profound meaning of space. A mournful voice resounded throughout the residence, causing goosebumps to rise all over Yin Bingjin's body. Her eyes were filled with terror as she watched Su Yan's palm land on Zilulan's shoulder and tear off her entire arm. You! Zi Xuanzu's face was ferocious as she said angrily, stop it, little rascal. You really don't know what's good for you. Rip! Su Yan's blood-stained palm once again landed on Zilulan's other arm and tore it apart violently. Blood flowed all over the floor, and her miserable cries made one's hair stand on end. Elder, save me. Zilulan, whose face was unrecognizable, almost fainted. Her entire body was trembling. Both her arms had been torn off by Su Yin. I'll say it again. Open the killing array, Su Yin said angrily. If not, I'll cut her into pieces. Don't test my patience. Elder, save me. Zilulan was terrified. Her entire body was trembling, and her face was pale. She was really frightened. She did not doubt that Su Yin would tear her to pieces in the next moment. Zi Xuanzu calmed down. Her status in the Z-clan was very high, and she was once in charge of the various Cosmos Commerce Alliances. She was not easily frightened by Su Yin. Actually, speaking of which, we don't seem to have any grudges. Zi Xuanzu took a deep breath and said, let's make a deal. What did Zi Xiaoning promise you? I'll give you everything. If you can hand over my clan's inheritance now, I can promise to let you leave safely. I've said it before, for divine artifacts. Su Yin sneered. Hand them over, and I'll leave immediately. The inheritance will be delivered tomorrow. That's impossible. Zi Xuanzu shook her head and said coldly, what if we can't find you after you leave? I can tell you clearly that the Cosmos Business Alliance can still take out 4 divine artifacts, but the prerequisite is that you have to hand over my clan's inheritance. You don't have to doubt the reputation of the Cosmos Business Alliance. What a great reputation. Su Yin laughed angrily. Has your conscience been eaten by a dog? I'm the one who brought back your clan's inheritance, but you've set up a trap here. If you want to kill me, how can you still talk about reputation? What do you want? Zi Xuanzu was furious. Su Yin said coldly, hand over 4 divine artifacts, and I'll deliver the inheritance tomorrow. It's that simple. Looks like you're not willing to negotiate. Zi Xuanzu's aura was extremely cold, and her aura was gradually becoming more and more terrifying. Thousands of strands of great Tao heavenly energy filled the entire residence, rippling with a destructive aura that made Su Yin suffocate. Clan Elder. Zilulan's face was pale. Zilulan, his ending will be 1,000 times more painful. Zi Xuanzu's eyes flashed coldly. Zilulan was in complete despair. Zi Xuanzu had given up on her. Yin Bingzhen's legs went weak, and she fell to the ground. If Zilulan was really dead, then she had no hope left. The inheritance is of great importance. Clan Elder, remember your contributions. Su Yin, it's time for you to hand over the inheritance. Zi Xuanzu no longer looked at her. Her eyes were fixed on Su Yin, and she said coldly, I've been in the universe for thousands of years, and this is the first time I've been threatened by a nobody like you. I can't be bothered to talk nonsense with you. Chapter 356. The silver palm extended downwards, causing Zilulan to despair. The ripples released by this palm caused Zilulan's body and mind to be torn apart. Zi Xuanzu was a great Tao realm expert, so Su Yin naturally wouldn't have it easy. Old thing. Su Yin was enraged. He wanted to kill Zilulan. At most, he wouldn't hand over the mysterious bone book to Zi Xioning. It wasn't that he didn't have a trump card, but Su Yin really wanted to borrow Zi Xioning's strength to understand the current situation of the burial region lineage. Just as Su Yin was about to unseal the true dragon arm, he felt thousands of vast space-time auras sweeping over, covering Su Yin. As for the silver palm that was descending from above, it was directly blocked. Su Yin's eyes narrowed. Could there be reinforcements? Clap, clap, clap. A crisp voice rang out. A beautiful woman in a cheongsam walked in with a charming smile and a curvy figure. She swayed her sexy and perky buttocks as she walked in. She clapped her hands and smiled. What a great show. I haven't seen enough yet. Miss Xioning, Yin Bingzhen's scalp went numb. Her face was filled with fear and despair. She didn't have a trace of hope. Zi Xioning was here. Yin Bingzhen, who didn't disappoint me. Zi Xioning's limpid eyes scanned her. Her red lips were sexy, her smile was charming, and her appearance was gorgeous. She chuckled. If it wasn't for you, I would have found evidence. I really have to thank you. I didn't. Yin Bingzhen's scalp went numb. Her words caused Zilulan to be furious. Was Yin Bingzhen tricking her? Little brat, well done. Zi Xioning patted Su Yan's shoulder, causing the latter to feel helpless. This woman must have been here long ago and have been watching the show from the side. Haha, last Xioning, when did you come? Zi Xuanzu forced a stiff smile and looked at the black-robed man blocking his way. He smiled kindly and said, Why didn't you inform me? If I knew you were here, I wouldn't have wasted so much effort. Everything is for the family treasure. Xioning, you won't blame me for not informing you beforehand, right? Old thing, Su Yin replied. Watch your mouth. Although she was caught red-handed, Zi Xuanzu still acted as if it was no big deal. She reprimanded, How dare you disrespect me? Xioning, tell me, how should we deal with this brat? If we let him go just like that, what will happen to the dignity of the Z clan? What should we do? You'd better think more about yourself. Another person came in from outside the door. He was dressed in a gray robe, and his hair was gray. He walked with a majestic gait, and his aura was extremely powerful. It was obvious that he had been in a high position for a long time. Sixth Elder. Zi Xuanzu's expression turned ugly. She smiled apologetically. Sixth Elder, why are you here? Why didn't you inform me in advance? I'm here to inform Xioning. What has it got to do with you? Zi Yangcheng said unkindly. How dare you? If anything happens to the family treasure, You won't be able to pay for it, even if you die 10 times. Sixth Elder, what do you mean? Zi Xuansu said angrily. What crime have I committed? I'm only doing this for the clan, to get the family treasure back. Although I did use some tricks, this brat has nothing to do with the Cosmos Business Alliance. Sixth Elder, Zi Xioning asked calmly. What crime is it for a clan member to kill each other and even target a descendant of the clan? You're slandering me. Zi Xuansu was stunned. Her expression changed drastically and she shouted, Slandering me? Zi Xioning, when did I attack my own clan member? Zi Lulan, tell me. Zi Lulan's eyes were filled with hatred and resentment. She had lost so badly that she couldn't win against Zi Xioning. When Yin Bingjin returned to the family in the past, Zi Xioning had already gotten wind of it. However, she was grounded in the family and could not see Yin Bingjin immediately. Hence, she naturally knew that Zi Lulan had taken Yin Bingjin away. Zi Xioning knew very well. Before she left, she had instructed Yin Bingjin to immediately activate the teleportation array to inform her if Su Yin came. Other than this, nothing else was worth activating the teleportation array. At that time, Zi Xioning didn't hesitate. Su Yin had definitely made it out alive. She had to go back. Zi Xioning had spent a lot of time persuading the Patriarch to allow her to go back. However, it had already been a few days. On the way back, she thought that Su Yin had died. Who knew that when Zi Xioning arrived, Su Yin was still not here? Ah! Zi Lulan screamed in pain. Zi Xioning had pinched her. At this moment, Zi Xioning was both charming and cold. Her aura was both enchanting and cold. She looked at Zi Lulan with her limpid eyes and smiled. I hate it when people take on my appearance and pretend that they don't look like me. You really know how to humiliate me. Bam! The purple lush orchid collapsed here, shattering into a pile of meat paste. Xioning, what are you doing? Sixth Elder was like a silver lion in anger. Zi Lulan was a disciple of the Zi family after all. Even if she had made a mistake, Zi Xioning had no right to kill her. Hearing this, Zi Xioning had a disapproving look. I'll give an explanation to the ancestor later. Sixth Elder, you don't have to worry. You better think about how to deal with this old thing. This matter concerns the relic, and this old thing almost delayed the important matter. What should he do? Zi Xioning, you're rebelling. How dare you slander me? Do you still have any respect for the family rules? Zi Xioning was so angry that she wanted to vomit blood. She had nothing to fear. After all, bringing back the relic was too important to the Zi family. With such a huge contribution, Zi Xioning would have unparalleled power in the future and become an existence that could call the wind and rain in the business world. Kaboom! The aura of the black-robed man approached Zi Xuansu. The entire space was as black as ink, as if a huge black hole had been born here, exuding spatial fluctuations. This old thing is Zi Xioning's guardian? He's really strong. Su Yin thought to himself. The black-robed man's control of space was superb. Even the big killing formation was forcefully suppressed by him. Bastard! Zi Xuansu was not weak either. Her body was full of great Dao Qi. The great Dao heavenly power that surged out from her body intertwined and turned into a big killing seal that smashed towards the black space that was swallowing her. Humph! Old Man Black was disdainful. No matter how strong Zi Xuansu was, she was not a top overlord of the universe. For a strong cultivator like him who had mastered space, Zi Xuansu was not a problem. The black space spewed out a vast space aura, covering the entire residence. No matter how strong Zi Xuansu's aura was, she could not break free from this dark space. The Sixth Elder was surprised. The black-robed man was not a cultivator of the Zi family, but was accidentally saved by Zi Xioning's grandfather. He stayed in the Zi family to repay his kindness and had always been Zi Xioning's guardian. The Sixth Elder really did not expect this person's combat power to be so strong. Even in the vast universe, this level of control of space was considered a strong cultivator. They battled for more than 100 rounds, and finally, the black-robed man rushed forward impatiently. His fist burst out like a black sun, and the light of the great path that filled the sky exploded. The fist bombarded Zi Xuansu, causing her entire body to tremble. Buzz. The black-robed man waved his hand and covered Zi Xuanzu. No matter how she struggled, she could not escape from the black-robed man's palm. Sixth Elder, are you just going to watch? An outsider is bullying a strong cultivator of my clan. Zi Xuanzu was furious. She was about to succeed, but everything was reversed. She was so depressed that she wanted to vomit blood. You'd better think carefully about how you're going to answer to your clan. The sixth elder snorted. Don't hurt her. Seal Zi Xuanzu. When we return to the clan, we'll deal with her together. Sixth elder, you're unfair. Zi Xuanzu struggled to be sealed by the black-robed man. She was kept in a space treasure, and the entire residence quieted down. Only Yin Bingjin was trembling, and her face was pale. Su Yin, why don't I give my subordinate to you? Zi Xiaoning smiled, and Yin Bingjin was in despair. She had treated Su Yin so badly. How could he let her go? Zi Xiaoning was now giving her to Su Yin. She could not imagine how terrible it would be. Hearing this, Su Yin shook his head and said in annoyance, What use do I have for such a rebellious person? Since she's your subordinate, you can deal with her yourself. I'm too lazy to deal with her now. Lock her up first. Zi Xiaoning's words terrified Yin Bingjin. She said, Miss, I know I'm wrong. You're magnanimous. Please, spare me, spare me. The black-robed man picked her up and was disgusted by her pitiful appearance. Zi Xiaoning, you'll get your retribution. I've worked so hard for you all these years. Seeing that Zi Xiaoning treated her like air, Yin Bingjin lost control and roared. She was in despair. She knew Zi Xiaoning very well. Once she was locked up in the dungeon, she would never be able to crawl out of it. With Zi Xiaoning's prestige, she did not even need to do anything. The guards of the Cosmos Business Alliance would torture her to death. Su Yin, I didn't expect you to be so bold. You're not even afraid of Zi Xuanzu. Zi Xiaoning looked as if nothing had happened. Her snow-white skin was sparkling and full, exuding a mature temperament. She wore a tight red Chong Sam, which made her look enchanting and charming. Her face was full of smiles, and there was also a trace of relief, as if she had been entrusted with a heavy burden. If you'd come earlier, I wouldn't be so scared. Su Yin was relieved. This little brother is Su Yin. Sixth elder Zi Yanqing looked at him. A smile appeared on his old face. I saw that your battle strength had recovered, and there were traces of the solar fist. To cultivate this fist technique requires an extremely strong physical body. I didn't expect you to be able to cultivate it. Su Yan's eyelids twitched. He said, I did obtain the cultivation method of the solar fist. Senior Zi Zhangchu. Su Yin read out the words left behind by Zi Zhangchu. Zi Yanqing was furious. How dare you desecrate the ancestor's corpse? You bastard. Zi Xiaoning's expression also turned slightly cold. Zi Zhangchu could still be considered her great-grandfather, but Zi Lulan had destroyed his corpse. Little friend, the solar fist is a secret of our clan. Zi Yanqing suddenly frowned and said, Has this secret technique been passed down to others? Sixth elder. Zi Xiaoning glanced at him and said, The solar fist was also one of the rewards I gave him. Since Su Yin learned in advance, I saved myself the effort. I still have things to talk to Su Yin, so please help yourself. Chapter 357. Zi Xiaoning left with Su Yin and quickly brought Su Yin into a secret room. Seeing her careful look, Su Yin knew that the mysterious bone book was very important. Perhaps even the sixth elder did not know what the bone book was. You really did me a big favor. How can I thank you? Zi Xiaoning lazily lay on the chair. Her voluptuous snow-white body and curves undulated. Her limpid eyes rippled with joy as she looked at Su Yin, who had changed a lot in the past few years. Su Yin was tall and straight. He wore a white robe and did not have a strong aura. However, as he breathed, there was a faint fluctuation in his body that was as deep as the abyss. This was a shocking accumulation of resources that could soar to the sky in the future. Zi Xiaoning was still surprised. She did not expect Su Yin to have such terrifying battle strength. He could kill the Star Domain Supremes of the Tianxian Star Domain as he wished. If it was not for the Devil Fog Forbidden Zone, this person would definitely become a hot young overlord in the hundreds of star domains nearby. Su Yin smiled. How does Miss Zi Xioning want to thank me? I might consider it if you give yourself to me. Hearing this, Zi Xioning rolled her eyes at him. Her eyes were full of flirtatious and alluring. She giggled. Why do you like me? I can consider it too. After all, you are a young man with unlimited potential. Why did you add the word young? I'm not young. Su Yan's eyes scanned her voluptuous body, exuding a seductive aura. His unscrupulous gaze made Zi Xioning smile coquettishly. You have guts. When you comprehend a great Tao, I will consider it. Is it difficult to comprehend the great Tao? Su Yan asked. That's only natural. Over the years, the number of young overlords who were trapped in the transcendence realm was too many to count. Even some of the sovereign physiques were unlucky enough to find it difficult to step into the Grand Tao realm. Even the Quasi-Tao realm was far from the Grand Tao realm. I didn't expect you to be able to suppress Quasi-Tao realm cultivators. As for whether you can take this step in the future, it is still unknown. Zi Xioning knew very well that Su Yin was all alone and had no one to rely on. It could be said that it was a miracle that he could come this far. However, the road ahead would become more and more difficult. It was really too difficult to compete with the young sovereigns of the various major star fields. After all, the top 10 star domains were always strong, and the young supremes were more outstanding than the previous generation. Not to mention that they controlled blessed lands, top-notch training halls, and all kinds of rare heavens and earth. The limited resources were monopolized almost all of those resources. Limited in resources. It was almost impossible to go against the heavens. Zi Xioning's red lips were bright and enchanting. She said, You've caused a lot of trouble this time. The Ancestral Hall is very concerned about you. I'm very curious, what kind of opportunity did you get in the Devil Mist? To be able to comprehend the profundity of space, ordinary Quasi-Tao realm cultivators would not be able to stop you. It's nothing, I just took a trip to the gates of hell. Su Yin shrugged and said, I'm also curious. What is the treasure of your clan? It was really full of twists and turns. I almost lost my life. No matter what, you have to make it up to me. Su Yin threw the mysterious bone book away. He had already grasped the secret art, so it was useless for him. Zi Xioning held the mysterious bone book. The smile on her face vanished, and her limpid eyes scanned the book. After a moment, she looked at Su Yin, and the smile on her face became even brighter. She said in a seductive tone, Anything is fine. This sweet voice left Su Yin speechless. After a moment of silence, he said, What is this bone book? Why is there not a single word on it? Is it a treasure? The truth is, I'm not sure. Zi Xioning hesitated for a moment. Then she said in a soft voice, It is said to be a lost secret art of my clan. Because we're missing a bone book, the secret art is incomplete. Su Yin was flabbergasted. The secret art he obtained was not complete. Zi Xioning probably would not have thought that Su Yin had already seen the true face of the secret art. But Su Yan's secret art was already shocking enough. If it was my complete secret art, how terrifying would it be? It must be incredible, right? Is it a supernatural power? Su Yin asked. You want to know more? After all, the secret art could revive the broken cauldron. This made him feel that this matter was of great importance. Of course. Zi Xioning nodded and said, I don't know how strong it is, but this secret art is our clan's most precious possession. So, you have done me a great favor. What do you want? Just say it. Zi Xioning was in a good mood. If she brought the mysterious bone book back to her clan, then her position in the Cosmos Business Alliance would rise steadily. She would even gain the trust of the old ancestor and be entrusted with important tasks. What kind of power was the Cosmos Business Alliance? A giant that could summon wind and rain in the business world. If they stomped their feet, the entire universe's business alliances would tremble. They were the richest power in the universe. In the future, Zi Xioning would definitely be a strong woman at the top of the pyramid. Sensing that Zi Xioning did not know much, Su Yin stopped to ask. He smiled and said, I haven't thought of what I want. There are just some things that I want to know. I will definitely tell you everything I know. Zi Xioning chuckled. Just ask. I'm very curious. What do you want to know? I want to know about a part of the ancient history of the burial realm. Su Yan's words caused Zi Xiaoning to frown. She said in surprise, "Instead of asking me, why don't you ask Tai Bao Kai? It has the aura of the burial realm on its body. If it weren't for the fact that you were related to the burial realm bloodline, I wouldn't have asked for your help." Tai Bao Kai. Su Yan's heart trembled. He and Tai Bao Kai both came from Earth. Earth was the later progenitor, the second ancestral land of the burial realm bloodline. As for Tai Bao Cai's origins, even it was unclear. The burial realm bloodline is filled with mystery and terror. Zi Xiaoning stood up. She was tall and slender, and her snow-white skin was full and translucent. She walked over to Su Yan and sternly said, "The great powers of the universe all change color when they talk about them. After all, they were once the masters of this universe. They were powerful to the peak. But in the distant wild era, something happened that was never recorded in ancient history. It is rumored that a large number of powerhouses of the burial realm bloodline disappeared. They were strong on the outside, but weak on the inside. The ancestral hall joined forces with the other great powers to attack them." "Why did they disappear?" Su Yan asked. "I'm not sure." Zi Xiaoning pondered. She said, "Even the old antiques can't say for sure. But one thing is certain. The 9 great immortal mountains are the most precious treasures of the burial realm bloodline. There are some ancient rumors that if one can gather the 9 great immortal mountains, they might be able to control the entire universe." Su Yan had already seen 2 of the 9 great immortal mountains. They required immortal jades to open, but controlling the 9 great immortal mountains meant controlling the universe? This was just too much of a fantasy. This rumor is somewhat terrifying. Who knows if it's true or false? Zi Xiaoning sighed. The reason for this is that the collapse of the burial realm bloodline is related to the mother scripture they grasped. It is rumored that the cultivation system of the ancient cultivation world evolved from the mother scripture. The great powers of the ancestral hall all want to obtain it. Mother scripture. Su Yan breathed heavily. Whether it was the mother scripture or immortal jades, he had both. Is this the fundamental reason why the burial realm bloodline lost their inheritance? Su Yan's voice was somewhat gloomy. Is the mother scripture so important? Not entirely. She said, "A starving camel is still bigger than a horse." I heard from the old ancestor of the clan that their clan seemed to have provoked something they shouldn't have. I don't know what it is, and my understanding of the burial realm bloodline is limited. Now, the ancestral hall wants to destroy the burial realm bloodline the most. The battle 100 years ago shook the entire universe. A large number of experts from the ancestral hall came out and killed until the universe was dyed red with blood. That day could be said to be the end of the world. The ancestral hall's strength was obvious to all. Many people died. In fact, in order to kill a single person, the ancestral hall experts didn't hesitate to pay any price. They massacred one ancient star after another, and billions of lives were buried with them. Even the heavens were crying. A sea of blood was drifting, and billions of corpses were lying on the ground. The ancestral hall seems to have gone mad. I don't know why. Perhaps an important character of the burial realm bloodline provoked the ancestral hall to go on a killing spree. They massacred all the major starfields. It is said that almost all the starfields that were involved in the battle were wiped out. Zi Xiaoning's eyes were filled with fear. After all, it was too cruel. It was a terrifying disaster of blood that swept across the vast universe. Su Yan clenched his fists. He knew that it was most likely because of him. He breathed heavily, trying to calm himself down. He asked, "What happened after that?" After that, Zi Xiaoning sighed softly. After the Star Tomb incident, the burial realm bloodline disappeared without a trace. They must have gone into hibernation. Their vitality has been greatly damaged. However, I know that in recent years, the Ancestral Hall has been sending out experts to chase after the burial realm bloodline. They're hunting down the cultivators from the necropolis who escaped years ago. Judging by how crazy they are, someone must have appeared and touched their nerves. Su Yan clenched his fists. He couldn't calm down. Su Yan couldn't forget the deaths of Grandpa Flame, C, and the others. It was like a formation that was stabbed into his heart. His chest felt suffocated, and a kind of anger surged within him. There were some scenes he didn't dare to imagine. He was sent away when he was young, but what about the others? They were hunted down by the ancestral hall. They didn't even let the children go. They were thrown to their deaths, their blood splashing across the sky. This was a monstrous blood feud that seeped deep into their bones. Suyin clenched his fists. Blue veins popped out on his forehead. Su Dalong's words echoed in his ears. He had already grown up. He was no longer the ignorant child of the past who wanted to use his strong arms to protect his clansmen. A pair of delicate hands gently landed on Su Yan's shoulders. Her slender fingers exerted a bit of strength. Zi Xiaoning emitted a mature and gentle aura. She gently massaged Su Yan's shoulders and smiled. Although I don't know who you are or what grudges you have with the ancestral hall, I don't want to know. But little man, your arms aren't strong enough. Don't be blinded by hatred. The road ahead is still long. It's still unknown who will win and who will lose. As a core member of the Cosmos Business Alliance, Zi Xiaoning understood some of the powers in the universe. If the Ancestral Hall knew that Su Yan was still alive, they would definitely eliminate him to prevent future troubles. Su Yan slowly relaxed. How could he forget the heart-wrenching experience? Mississippi, the black-robed man, suddenly entered the secret room. Seeing their intimate appearance, the black-robed man's face darkened. He had watched Zi Xiaoning grow up. Although he knew that the clan had already begun to choose a Dao companion for Zi Xiaoning, the black-robed man felt that there were too few people who could match her. It would be more appropriate if an invincible young supreme came. Su Yan was admittedly a rising star of the younger generation, but he really didn't have the qualifications to be so close to Zi Xiaoning. What's wrong? Zi Xiaoning frowned. Supreme Elder Zi Tai is here. The black-robed man's words made Zi Xiaoning's face darken. How did this old thing come so quickly? Did he receive some news? The mysterious bone book was of great importance. Even the old ancestor paid attention to it. However, Zi Xiaoning didn't expect Zi Tai to come so quickly. He must have come for the treasure. Su Yan, wait for me here for a while. I'll go take care of some things first. The moment Zi Xiaoning was about to leave, the entire secret room rumbled. All of a sudden, the great killing formation that was about to awaken became dim without light. It was shaken by wave after wave of incomparable divine aura, as if it was about to be dissolved. Su Yan was endlessly shocked. This was a very terrifying expert. He forcefully opened the door to the secret room. It was as if a sleeping lion had charged in. His eyes emitted an ancient aura of primal chaos, intimidating people's hearts. He strode over with boundless divine might. The aura from his body automatically spread out, causing the entire secret room to tremble. Zi Tai's aura was too terrifying. When he saw Zi Xiaoning, he smiled. Xiaoning, I heard that you found the lost treasure of my clan. The clan specially sent me here to escort the treasure back to the clan. Zi Xiaoning was very unhappy. Zi Tai hurried over in a panic, as if he wanted to steal the credit. However, on the surface, he still maintained his composure and said, Supreme Elder has worked hard. You came really quickly. This matter is of great importance. I dare not be the slightest bit careless. Zi Tai was wearing a golden robe. His aura was like the sea, and his body was surrounded by strands of primal chaos. He said, also, Xiaoning, Xuanzu was also thinking about the safety of the treasure. Although her methods were a bit extreme, it shouldn't be to the extent of being suppressed and sealed, right? Chapter 358. Su Yan was infuriated. What did she mean by there was no danger to his life? Did he have to die in Zi Xuanzu's hand for the Zi family to punish Zi Xuanzu? Not only did Zi Xuanzu snatch the treasure, she even wanted to kill him. Now that Zi Tai was here, he made Zi Xuanzu look like she was wronged. This caused Su Yan to be both shocked and furious. What Zi Xuanzu said made his expression even worse. He had escorted the Zi family's relic from afar. It was fine if Zi Xuanzu did not thank him, but she actually blamed him? How could Su Yan remain calm? Grand Supreme Elder. Zi Xiaoning's expression changed slightly. She said angrily, if Zi Xuanzu chased Su Yan away and prevented our clan's relic from ever returning, how much punishment would he have to bear? Isn't that enough? She snatched the treasure and ruined our clan's reputation. I think sealing her is already giving her some face. How dare you? Zitai's expression darkened. He said, Xioning, Zi Xuanzu is still your elder. How can you call her by her name? Is she worthy? Zi Xioning sneered. She's lucky that I didn't kill her. How dare she plot against me behind my back? I believe that the patriarch will not let her off easily if he knows about this. Zitai's expression was ugly. He glared at Zi Xioning's furious expression. He snorted and said in a gentle tone, I can't be bothered with Zi Xuanzu's matters. The Hall of Penal Law will punish her. The black-robed man was surprised and muttered to himself, It seems that the relic is of great importance. I don't usually see Zitai giving in. I didn't expect this. It seems that the future young mistress will have a high status in the clan. All right, Zi Lulan is dead. Humph! As a disciple of the Zi family, she disrespected her elders. She deserved to be killed. Zitai said coldly, You even dare to destroy the remains of our ancestor. You did the right thing. Our clan will never allow such a scum who only cares about his own interests. It's good that he's dead. Zi Xioning's expression eased up quite a bit. This scene made Zitai laugh and say, Xioning, quickly take out the relic and let me have a look. After all, this item is my clan's top secret. I'm afraid you won't be able to see through the clues within. Zi Xioning directly took out the mysterious bone book. After all, Zitai was the grand elder of the Zi clan, and he was qualified to study it. He had even made this trip to escort the relic back to the clan. This is it. Zitai's body trembled. He stared at the mysterious bone book and studied it seriously. His entire body was emitting chaotic air currents, which wrapped him up tightly. Even the mysterious bone book was covered. Zi Xioning snorted. They didn't want her to see it, because it was only passed down to males and not females. Zi Xioning was very unhappy. After all, she was the one who found it. However, this also showed the importance of the relic. It was likely that only the great ancestor of the Zi clan would be qualified to cultivate this method. Boom! A heavy aura suddenly transmitted from the chaotic air. It was as if the sky overturning seal had sunk here. It could easily destroy the entire secret room. Grand Elder, what are you doing? The black-robed man frowned. Could it be that there was something wrong with the mysterious bone book that Su Yin had taken out? The chaotic air immediately dispersed. Zitai's expression was as usual. His eyes scanned the surroundings, and his gaze fell on Su Yin. With his divine ability, he could see through Su Yan's original appearance with a single glance. He let out a dull voice. The younger generation will surpass us in time. You were able to kill the 10 great knights of the ancestral hall in one fell swoop, and even came out alive from the demonic fog. Little friend, you are not simple. Senior is overpraising me. Su Yan's hair stood on end. He could feel that Zitai's gaze was somewhat unfriendly. He said to Zi Xioning, Miss Xioning, if there's nothing else for me here, I will take my leave first. I will come back to visit another day. All right, you can go. Zi Xioning nodded slightly. She still had many things to do, and even had to make a trip back to the clan. Wait. Zitai frowned slightly. His words made Su Yan's expression change slightly. Zi Xioning frowned even more. Grand Elder, is there anything else? Could it be that you want to take out some treasures and give them to Su Yin to express your gratitude? Hearing this, Zitai's eyes still stared at Su Yin without blinking. He suddenly said, Little friend, you are from the ancestral hall, right? Senior, why do you say that? Su Yan's heart skipped a beat. This old thing couldn't have seen that he had opened the mysterious bone book, right? Yes, Grand Elder. What connection could Su Yin have with the ancestral hall? Zi Xioning said, If Grand Elder has anything to ask, just ask me directly. I'm asking you. Zitai's expression was somewhat ugly. He stared at Zi Xioning and said, You still don't know that someone has hoodwinked you. If I hadn't arrived in time, the consequences would have been unimaginable. What do you mean? Zi Xioning was still very confident in her judgment. She wouldn't easily suspect Su Yin. She asked, Could it be that the legacy treasure is fake? If it's fake, what does it have to do with Su Yin? The legacy treasure is real. Zitai's eyes flashed, and landed on the sixth elder, Ziyancheng, who had been silent all this while. Zitai said, "The sixth elder has already told me about the solar fist. Our clan's secret was actually learned by an outsider." Su Yin was furious on the spot. "What do you mean by that?" Senior Zi Zhengxu wrote his will. "If we escort his remains back to the clan, we can obtain the secret technique of the solar fist. I have learned the solar fist. However, if you think that Senior Zi Zhengxu's regret is to abolish it, I, Su Yin, swear that I will never use the solar fist again." "Haha, you said you won't use it and you won't use it," Zitai asked with a cold face. "I, Su Yin, have mastered the all-heaven secret technique, the Big Dipper Fist. Why would I need the solar fist?" Su Yan's furious response caused Zitai's aura to suddenly become 10,000 times more terrifying. His aura was extremely terrifying. He said with cold anger, "You mean the solar fist is like the Big Dipper Fist?" "You said it yourself," Su Yin said coldly. "Grand Elder, what are you trying to do?" Zi Xioning took a deep breath and said with an indifferent tone, "Su Yin is my esteemed guest and also the person who brought back our clan's legacy treasure. I don't wish for anything unpleasant to happen. It's true that he is the person who escorted the legacy treasure." Zitai said with a cold tone, "I can ignore the solar fist. However, there is one thing that you should never have done. That is to peek at the inheritance on the mysterious bone book." "What?" This time, it was Zi Xioning's turn to be astonished. She couldn't even see through this mysterious bone book. Could it be that Su Yin could see through it? Empty words with no proof. "You're framing me like this because of the solar fist. You even want to seal my mouth, right?" Su Yan's heart sank to the bottom. "This time, you might be in big trouble. Hee, don't pretend in front of me. My cultivation is far beyond yours. With your cultivation, it's not enough to look at in front of me." Zitai's aura filled the entire secret room. He said coldly, "You are very dishonest. Our clan's legacy treasure isn't just this bone book. There should be a broken cauldron." "What did you say?" Su Yan's eyes widened. "The broken cauldron was obtained on Earth. What did this have to do with their Z clan?" "Su Yan, hand over our clan's treasured cauldron immediately," Zitai said with a cold tone. "This is our clan's legacy treasure. Don't worry, you will be rewarded. After all, it belongs to our clan. How can we lose it?" "But the Grand Elder said that there is only one bone book. What does it have to do with the broken cauldron?" Zi Xioning also felt that there was a problem. "This is our clan's top secret. You have no right to ask." Zitai said coldly, "Su Yin, hand over our clan's treasured cauldron immediately. That thing is useless to you. Don't worry, I will reward you. I won't let you down." What a joke. Su Yan's entire body was seething with rage. He pointed at Zitai and shouted sternly, "I went through untold hardships to find your clan's treasure, but now you covet my treasure. Where's your face? Don't think that I won't dare to scold you just because your cultivation is high. Presumptuous." The entire secret room was trembling. That horrifying aura was like the eruption of a raging sea. At this moment, Zitai was too strong. If it wasn't for him intentionally suppressing it, the entire Cosmos Business Alliance would have collapsed. "So Yan, let me ask you, did you only get the bone book?" Zi Xioning was still considered calm. "There is indeed only this item." Su Yin said angrily, "Don't you believe me? As for the broken cauldron that he mentioned, it has always been my treasure. It has nothing to do with your clan." "Good lad, you still dare to quibble at this moment." Zitai said malevolently, "You really won't shed tears until you see the coffin. You secretly learned my clan's ultimate secret technique and even secretly kept my clan's treasure. Hee, you better think clearly. What is the consequence of doing this? Can you bear it? You keep saying that it is your clan's treasure." Su Yin said sarcastically, "I will give you a chance. If you can take away your clan's legacy treasure, I will give it to you immediately. I won't say a word. As for the reward, there will be no need." Zitai's face was gloomy. He saw some images from the mysterious bone book and saw the broken cauldron, but he really didn't have the ability to summon the broken cauldron. "Supreme Elder, are you going to target my esteemed guest in front of me?" Zi Xioning snorted and said, "I don't care what treasure you want, but don't forget that the legacy treasure was brought back by Su Yin." You are really muddle-headed. Zitai reprimanded. Now that the inheritance has been leaked, this person can't be left alive. This is my Z clan's ultimate secret technique. It must be taken back. I don't think it's necessary. Z Shoning said coldly. Su Yen is my man now. He will enter the Z clan sooner or later. He'll have to learn this secret technique sooner or later. The sixth elder was completely dumbfounded. Su Yen was Z Shoning's man? You. Zitai pointed his finger at Z Shoning. He was so angry that his arm was shaking. His face was flushed red. He flew into a rage and said, You are full of nonsense. For your marriage, the clan went around the world to pick out young overlords from various major star fields for you. Do you know how much damage it will do to the reputation of the Z clan if your words are spread out? He stared at Su Yin with mournful eyes. A genius from a small Big Dipper star field couldn't even compare to some of the young overlords rejected by the Z clan. What right did he have to become a cultivation partner with Z Shoning? He escorted the treasure from thousands of miles away and was almost killed by Z Xuansu. Now you want to snatch his treasure. Do you know how much damage it will do to the reputation of the Cosmos Business Alliance if this matter is spread out? Z Shoning's sharp reply made Zitai furious. Shut up. I think you're getting more and more disgraceful. You even dare to criticize me